Part 9. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 81. Is that so? Sarutobi Hiruzen also frowned. He was not concerned about Danzo's appearance, but he was worried that if he met that person one day in the future, how would he face such a secret technique? What if he also followed Danzo? Like Zhang, he became like this. Will he be the one who dies by then? Thinking of this, Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but feel a chill. At the same time, he also swore that he would encounter enemies in the future. The Umbu ninjas were sent to attack first. He himself said that he dared not go up to fight with the opponent. What if this person happened to be the ninja who made Danzo look like this? Then wouldn't he take the initiative to bump into others? The gun is on? Okay, come with me first. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Danzo like this. To be honest, even though he has been an old friend for decades, Sarutobi Hiruzen still felt a little disgusted. Hearing this, Danzo also nodded and was about to leave. Suddenly I thought of something again and glanced coldly at Kakashi over there. Kakashi, you're fine. Danzo said viciously. Kakashi had pulled down his forehead protector at some point, revealing one eye that was staring at him like a dead fish. He didn't care at all about Danzo's threat. Ah, I've been fine. Danzo snorted coldly, then stepped forward to catch up with Sarutobi Hiruzen in front. Kakashi didn't care about offending Danzo, because he had already offended those who deserved to be offended. After all, Kakashi has never the Umbu was judged by the root and joined. Danzo already hated Kakashi from that time on 380. If it weren't for Sarutobi Hiruzen protecting him, Danzo would have attacked Kakashi long ago. When he thought of his Sharingan being wasted on Kakashi, Danzo's hatred for Kakashi couldn't help but increase a little more. Damn Uchiha. Obviously he hates Kakashi, but Danzo is scolding Uchiha. However, there is nothing wrong with this. After all, this person is Danzo. It's gone, there's nothing to see anymore. The ninjas present also dispersed one after another. However, with the departure of these ninjas, what happened here today will probably be spread throughout Konoha within a day, and then the spies hidden in Konoha will pass this news further afield. I'm afraid that in a few days, Danzo, the famous dark ninja, will become the laughing stock of the ninja world. It's miserable, it's really miserable. But who can make him okay? Provoking Yagami Ryusuke. He was also the cause of the misfortune. I can only say that he deserves it. Naruto and Sasuke, let's go. Let's have dinner together next time. Ryusuke Yagami waved to Naruto and the others over there, and then continued today's patrol mission. On the other side, Sasuke was also staring at Kakashi. His eyes were so sharp that Kakashi couldn't stand it. No, there was no other way, he could only explain to Sasuke the origin of his Sharingan. At noon, Ryusuke Yagami found Hinata and Ino taking a lunch break, and the three of them were eating lunch together on the edge of a field. Ryusuke, there seems to be news in the village that Elder Danzo has turned into a woman. Is it true? Also, who is this Danzo elder? During the meal, Ino suddenly asked out of curiosity. Have you heard about this too? Ryusuke Yagami secretly marveled at the speed at which such gossip news spread. In less than half a day, even genin like Ino and others had heard about it. Amazing. I heard about it too, but Teacher Hong asked us not to discuss it. Hinata nodded. She also heard the news. It seems that this matter has been completely spread in the village. Many people are discussing it. Sister Hong is right not to let you discuss it. This Danzo elder is a member of the elder group in the village and the leader of the root. It can be said that he has a high position. Sister Hong doesn't let you discuss it, it's for your own good. Ryusuke Yagami introduced Danzo's situation. In fact, many ninjas who knew who Danzo was did not deliberately discuss this matter. The ones who spread the most information were those who knew nothing about genin and ordinary people. Where are the genin? You know what Danzo elders are. And they are young, and there are many guys who are not afraid of anything. For example, Naruto and Inyazuka Kiba. As for ordinary people, they don't even know who Danzo is. Anyway, they just think of him as one. Gossip news was being discussed, and the result was spread from 10 to 10. It soon spread throughout the village. Danzo's side had obviously also received reports from his subordinates. But there is no way to limit this thing. You can't give a silence order. The key point is that it's useless. Unless you send someone to keep an eye on everyone 24 hours a day, otherwise, how do you know they won't discuss this matter behind their back? Moreover, there are some things that the more you don't let them do it, the more likely they are to do it. The more we do. It's better to block than to block. Anyway, time will dilute everything. But during this period of time, Danzo does not plan to go out again. Even when he has to go out, he will go out in a different shape. Absolutely, you won't show your true colors to others. Danzo-sama, Hokage-sama invites you. Danzo. No. Hiruzen, what the hell are you? I just said that I can't go out during this period of time, so why don't you ask someone to call me over? And I just came back from the Hokage building. If you really had something important to do, couldn't you just say no? Why do you have to go back and forth like this? Are you playing with me? Danzo was furious. But looking at the two Umbu ninjas in front of him, he took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in his heart. I am not angry. I am not angry. Anyway, Hiruzen will be alive soon, why should I care about someone who is about to die? Danzo comforted himself in his heart. Then after giving a few instructions to his men, he followed the two Umbu and left the Hokage's office. Not only is Sarutobi Hiruzen here, but there are also two other members of the elder group. Mito Kadini he transferred to the small village where he slept. Konoha's think tank, Narashikaku, was also present. When Danzo opened the door and came in and saw so many people in the office, his face darkened instantly. Damn, Hiruzen, I am Cao Nima. The black-faced Danzo said nothing after he came in. He doesn't like anyone. Danzo, remove the transformation technique. Sarutobi Hiruzen ordered. Danzo. Anyway, you have already lost someone once, so you don't have to worry about losing someone again. However, Danzo's hatred for Sarutobi Hiruzen increased even more. He's almost catching up with the man with the Uzumaki mask who made him become like this. Danzo, you have really become a woman. Seeing Danzo remove his transformation technique, Koharu also looked at her in surprise when he went to bed. She didn't find Danzo disgusting at all. Instead, she felt closer to Danzo. After all, among the four of them in the past, she is the only female. Now it's good, there is an additional Danzo. Isn't this just a 2-to-2 ratio? It's just right. Shut up, Koharu. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Danzo said fiercely. After going to bed, Koharu chuckled and didn't care about Danzo's bad attitude. She also knew that Danzo hadn't adapted to being a human yet. A woman. When she gets used to it, she won't be like this anymore. Besides, what's wrong with becoming a woman? Xiao-chun thinks it's pretty good when she goes to bed. Ahem. Okay, now that Danzo is here, let's start discussing that matter. Sarutobi Hiruzen coughed twice, causing everyone to look away from Danzo and look towards him. Normally Danzo would be the first to speak at this time, but now Danzo was standing on the side. He looked like an outsider, with no intention of asking questions. Sarutobi Hiruzen saw this and couldn't help but snicker in his heart. He found that Danzo still had some problems after becoming a woman. Benefits. The biggest benefit is that Danzo is starting to feel embarrassed to express himself. He seems to be afraid that everyone's attention will be on him, and then he will be greeted by dazzling looks. From the looks of it, I have to thank the intruder. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought. Of course. If he had met that person, Sarutobi Hiruzen would have definitely let his umbu rush up to him without saying a word. After all, if you can have Danzo today, you may have yourself in the future. Sarutobi Hiruzen doesn't want to become as miserable as Danzo. Just look at what Danzo looks like now. Although he is still alive, he is worse than dead. Danzo really felt like he was worse off than dead at this time. Especially feeling the teasing look in Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes made him suffer even more. Damn Hiruzen! How dare he! If an old friend from the past makes fun of him like this, no matter how hard Danzo's thick skin can hardly be stretched anymore. Fortunately, Sarutobi Hiruzen also knew that it was not good to continue irritating Danzo at this moment. He was not asked by name to say a few words or anything. During the entire discussion, Danzo seemed to be at a distance. When Hiruzen Sarutobi said everyone could leave, he turned around and left the Hokage's office without saying a word. As soon as he left the house, Danzo used the transformation technique to transform himself into another person. Now he doesn't even dare to become his original self. Because everyone knows that Shimura Danzo has turned into a woman, the eyes of those people will become particularly strange whenever they see Danzo. It was like looking at some rare animal. Danzo couldn't stand this. So he simply became someone else. That way no one will recognize him. In the Hokage's office, Nara Shikaku was retained by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Shikaku, the village will hold a joint Chuunin exam in a few months, and I want you to be in charge of coordinating it then. Sarutobi Hiruzen asked Nara Shikaku to stay because he wanted to talk to him about the Chuunin examination in a few months. This time the Chuunin examination will not only be attended by some small ninja villages in the surrounding area. It has been determined will come, as well as Sunagakure village, which has signed an alliance agreement with Konoha. When the last exam comes, even the fourth generation Kazekage will be there in person, so for this Chuunin exam, Sarutobi Jean also attaches great importance to it. He is not at ease if this matter is left to others. But if this person is Nara Shikaku, Sarutobi Hiruzen is a million times more at ease. Okay, Hokage-sama. I will start making preparations in the next few days and will ensure the safety of the village. Nara Shikaku said. Safety is important, but we must also show off our momentum in Konoha. The daimyo will also send people to observe the ceremony. Shikaku, you also know that the village's funds have been very tight in recent years. If there is enough confidence, funding may be reduced again next year. Sarutobi Hiruzen is not worried about the village's problems. After all, those who come this time will either die from the small ninja village, or be from a village like Sunagakure, the weakest among the 5 major countries. What he is more concerned about is whether he can pass the Chuunin exam this time. Demonstrate the strength of their Konoha, so as to attract more wealthy businessmen to invest in Konoha and hand over more high-value tasks 3.7 to them in Konoha. At the same time, if it can satisfy the daimyo of the Land of Fire, then even more okay. After all, no matter how strong the ninja is, he still has to eat. And who is the richest in the Fire Country? Of course it is the daimyo. The funds allocated by the daimyo mansion every year are enough to feed a lot of ninjas. In the past 2 years, because of wood too many things have happened to yet. So much so that the daiming mansion has lowered its annual funding twice in a row. If it continues to be lowered like this, the living standards of the ninjas of the Sarutobi clan will be lowered. By then, how will Hiruzen Sarutobi pay? Are the ninjas of his own family making profits? Nara Shikaku just nodded after listening to what Sarutobi Hiruzen said. He said that he would definitely satisfy those wealthy businessmen and people in Daiming Mansion. As for the funding issue that Sarutobi Hiruzen heard about, Narashikaku is a smart man. Of course he knew that the annual funds given by Daming Mansion were far more than that. As for where the rest of the funds went, there is no need to ask or know this. Just understand it in your heart. After all, the Nara clan is on good terms with the Sarutobi clan. To put it bluntly, they are also vested interests. It's just that the benefits received are not as much as those of the Sarutobi clan. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 82. Okay, today's patrol ends here. You can go back and rest. Yayu, you stay. It was getting dark, and the mission of Umbu Team 7 was completed. After disbanding the team, Uzuki Yujeo kept Yagamai Ryasuke behind. Go change your clothes first, your sister Hong will treat you tonight. Mao Yuzian said. Then I'll go home and tell you. Ryasuke Yagamai said. Uzuki Zian nodded, and followed the two of them back to their respective homes. In the evening, Ryasuke Yagamai changed his clothes and went out. Unexpectedly, he met Naruto and the others who had just finished their mission on the road. Naruto, Sasuke, what's wrong with you? He looked at the two people who were all wet and looked like drowned rats and asked curiously. Hey. Don't ignore me every time. Sakura on the side yelled with her hands on her hips dissatisfied. Ah, by the way, Sakura is here too. What's wrong with you? Yakami Ryuzuke laughed, and Sakura was very dissatisfied with his perfunctory look. But Yagamai Ryuzuke is not a bitch like Naruto. No matter how dissatisfied she is, it will not affect Yagamai Ryuzuke. You're not Kakashi-sensei, Ryuzuke, but you don't know what kind of ridiculous tasks we've been doing these past 2 days. As soon as Naruto heard Ryusuke Yagamai's question, he immediately started complaining mode. He first complained about Kakashi's irresponsibility. He said that they were busy there, and Kakashi was watching from the side. Help. Then they complained about the tasks they took on. They had to take on at least 2D level tasks every day for the past 2 or 3 days. And it was either weeding or cleaning. That is not what ninjas should do at all. This has nothing to do with Naruto. The genin life he imagined was completely different. He thought he would leave the village soon to perform those difficult tasks. 0-1 result, that's it? We just completed a task of cleaning up garbage in the river. Sasuke couldn't stand the way Naruto kept chattering over there, but couldn't get to the point. So he pulled Naruto and answered Yagamai Ryuzuke's question. So that's the case, then you guys have worked really hard. Ryusuke Yagamai patted the two of them on the shoulders with a sympathetic look. What? And Sakura? Ahem. Isn't this a matter of men and women not being intimate? So forget it. Ryusuke, what kind of tasks do you perform in Umbu? Isn't it particularly exciting? Naruto asked with his eyes suddenly shining at this time. This stupid boy doesn't understand the Umbu's mission and can't tell outsiders at all. But Naruto, it's normal not to know this common sense. After all, no one has told him. Okay, I just left the village yesterday to perform a mission, and the day before yesterday. In fact, I only left the village twice. Today, it is just patrolling in the village. Ryusuke Yagamai didn't go into details, he just said it briefly. But even like this, it made Naruto envious. That's great for you, you've already left the village to perform tasks, unlike us, who are still doing those crappy tasks like cleaning up rivers. Naruto pouted, with a resentful expression that made Ryusuke Yagamai almost get goosebumps. Okay, go home and change clothes quickly, otherwise you won't be able to continue the mission tomorrow if you catch a cold. Ryusuke Yagamai looked at the sky and saw that it was already getting late, and then sent the three of them home to change clothes quickly. But after hearing his words, Naruto rolled his eyes, as if he had thought of some good idea. Wait until after Ryusuke Yagamai separated from them, Naruto secretly pulled Sasuke and Sakura and said, I have a way so that we don't have to do those D-level missions tomorrow. Do you want to come together? Any solution? Sasuke looked at Naruto with a suspicious expression. Naruto came up with a solution. To be honest, Sasuke is really worried. Naruto, please tell me quickly, don't show off. When Sakura heard that she didn't need to carry out those troublesome and tiring D-level tasks, she quickly urged Naruto to speak quickly. My solution is to pretend to be sick. Naruto said with a proud look on his face, as long as we say that we fell into the water and caught cold and got sick today, then Kakashi-sensei won't let us continue to be those D-class characters. Is this your idea? Sasuke shook his head. Sure enough, he shouldn't expect Naruto to come up with any good ideas. Pretending to be sick? Isn't that a trick played by children? Naruto, your approach is terrible. Kakashi-sensei is not a fool. How could he not see that we are pretending to be sick? Sakura originally wanted to say that this method is good and she can try it. But when she heard Sasuke say this, she immediately swallowed the words that came to her lips, and then showed a dissatisfied expression and complained about Naruto's method. So terrible. Believe me, I can trick Kakashi-sensei. Naruto saw that neither of them believed him, so he quickly said. Forget it, I don't want to play pretending to be sick like a kid, I'm going home. Sasuke shook his head. Then he turned around and left. Sasuke, wait for me. We're on our way home, let's go back together. Naruto. He looked at the road on the left, then at Sasuke and Sakura who were walking to the right. I want to say that Sakura's house is not going that way. But he didn't know if it was telepathy or something else. Just as he was about to speak, Sakura in front of him immediately turned around and glared at him fiercely. Naruto quickly shut his mouth, not daring to say anything. After waiting for a while, Sasuke and Sakura had both walked away, and Naruto said angrily, what? You don't believe my method, huh? Just wait and see. When you go to do the task tomorrow, I can rest at home. I will regret you to death. Yui Hong's family. Ryusuke Yagami knocked on the door. The one who came to open the door for him was Hongdu. Cut. It is you. As soon as Anko saw that the person coming was Yagami Ryusuke, her face suddenly fell, and she pouted her lips as if she was not happy to see him. Has Sister Hongdu gained weight again recently? It feels like your face is a little rounder than when we last met. Ryusuke Yagami said with a smile. Anko. Ah. She yelled like crazy. Ryusuke Yagami. You say that again. Where did I gain weight? Do I call myself fat? I call this plump, okay. Ah, yes, yes, Ryusuke Yagami nodded repeatedly. Sister Anko, you are plump, not fat. I have a friend who often says the same. I always feel like you are scolding me. Hongdu looked at him with a suspicious expression on his face. He was obviously right, but he still felt weird. By the way, who is your friend? Hongdu asked subconsciously. Chisai, his full name is Akimichi Chisai. Ryusuke Yagami ran away as soon as he finished speaking. Sure enough. Anko screamed from behind, and then he ran after him like crazy to beat him. Ryusuke Yagami ran in front, and Anko chased him behind. No matter how hard she chased, she couldn't catch up with Ryusuke Yagami. At this time, Kurane Yui also walked out of the kitchen. When she saw the two people running around the room, she also looked helpless. I said, can you two stop quarreling as soon as you meet? Really, were you enemies in your previous life? Yui Hong also couldn't understand why these two guys quarreled whenever they met. What's more, what she couldn't understand the most was that Hongdo obviously lost every time they quarreled and was still angry at herself, but the next time they met, still can't help but take the initiative to provoke. What's this? The more you eat, the more playful you are? Yui Hong is really convinced by the two of them. Sister Hong, help. Ryusuke Yagami quickly ran behind Yui Kurane, grabbed his waist and hid behind Kurane. Brat! Don't run if you have the guts. Anko rolled up her sleeves, looking menacing. Yagami Ryusuke, who was hiding behind Yui Kurane, looked at her with a smile and hooked his fingers from her provocatively. Come here. Ouch. I have such a bad temper. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Hongdu was so angry that she was about to rush forward. But Yui Hong quickly grabbed her. You two, please calm down for a while. She said helplessly. Just at this time, someone knocked on the door again. Yui Hong quickly said to Hongdu go and open the door. Zian should be here. Anko glared at Ryusuke Yagami, and then reluctantly turned around and opened the door. When Kurane Yui saw Anko opening the door, she patted the back of Ryusuke Yagami's hand angrily. Ryusuke, what are you doing with your hands? She turned around and rolled her eyes at Ryusuke Yagami. The charm was so charming that Ryusuke Yagami couldn't help but stay for a moment. Sister Hong, why do I feel like you are getting more and more beautiful? Ryusuke. Yagami said with a smile. Just your sweet mouth? Yui. Hong patted him angrily, and then said calm down later and don't keep arguing with Anko. If Sister Hong says something, I will definitely do it. Ryusuke Yagami promised with all his heart. Okay, what comes out of your mouth is really not very credible. This is not the first day that Yui Kurane has met Yagami Ryusuke. She has already understood this boy's talkative style. Yagami Ryusuke laughed. By the way, Sister Hong. Yagami Ryusuke suddenly asked apart from Sister Hongdu and Sister Zian, are there any other guests coming to your house tonight? Hinata will be coming soon. Yui Kurane said as she turned back to the kitchen. Is Hinata coming too? Yagami Ryusuke was a little surprised. It was not that Yui Kurane and Hinata got along so well so quickly. But he was surprised that Hinata also wanted to come. If so, where are Kiba Inyazuka and Shino Abarame from Class 8? This is being treated differently. Yagami Ryusuke smiled, of course he knew that Yui Kurane would not treat his students differently. As for why only Hinata was invited, but not Inyazuka Kiba and Abarame Shino? That's of course because it's not convenient for men to join tonight's dinner party. 850. As for Ryusuke Yagami, that's different. In Yui Hong's eyes, Yagami Ryusuke is no different from her younger brother, so naturally she won't mind. And Hongdu and Zian didn't mind his joining either. After all, Ryusuke Yagami has been familiar with the three of them since he was 10 years old. Even more so with Maoyu Zian. In short, Ryusuke Yagami is an exception. Sister Zian, come over here and sit down. In the living room, Anko and Zian came in, and Ryusuke Yagami waved to Zian. 11 Yan, be careful, this kid is getting more and more annoying now. Anko was still looking angry, obviously she was still angry that Ryusuke Yagami said she was fat. But in the conscience of heaven and earth, Ryusuke Yagami said this mainly to urge her to eat less sweets. Otherwise if so, in a few years, she might really be as fat as a ball. She was obviously a pretty girl, but thinking about how fat she would be in the future, Yagami Ryusuke couldn't help but want to persuade her eat less sweets. But Anko's character is that the more you don't let her eat, the more she will eat. She won't listen to advice at all. So, Ryusuke Yagami simply found another way. Every time they meet, he says that she is better than before. Gain weight. Gradually, Hongdu will subconsciously control his diet. This will avoid the consequences of becoming a fat man in the future. Are you two arguing again? Uzuki Zian saw Anko's expression and knew that the two must have quarreled again just now. However, despite the fact that Ryosuke Yagamai and Anko quarreled every time they met, the relationship between the two was actually quite good. Quarreling is actually a sign of a good relationship. Otherwise, if the relationship is really not good enough, we would have quarreled a few times and we would have stopped communicating with each other long ago. It's not that this guy's words are too irritating. Anko pouted and said dissatisfied. Then she took Yoa's Yukizian and started to scold Yagamai Ryosuke. She also tried to encourage Uzuki-zian to arrange more heavy tasks for Yagamai Ryosuke in the future. He called it a euphemistic way. Exercise Yagamai Ryosuke. A few minutes later, Hinata also arrived. Yagamai Ryosuke went to open the door for her. Ryosuke, you are here too. When Hinata saw Ryosuke Yagamai opening the door for her, her eyes lit up. Well, come on in. Ryosuke Yagamai smiled and nodded, and then called her in. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 83. In the restaurant, the lighting is soft. Everyone sat in a circle around a dining table, and there were all kinds of delicacies on the table. Hong, your craftsmanship is getting better and better. Whoever marries you in the future will be extremely happy. Anko was picking up vegetables with chopsticks, and while her mouth was full of food, she didn't forget to praise Yoi Kurene's craftsmanship. Why does it feel weird to hear these words? Teacher Hong's cooking is so delicious. Hinata's little face also looked serious, and coupled with the high pile of food in the bowl in front of her, her words seemed particularly convincing. Hey! I remembered, did someone say before that when they grow up, they want to marry a popular wife? Anko suddenly said with a smile. Her eyes glanced at Yagamai Ryosuke again and again. She was afraid that others would not know who she was referring to. What's wrong? Isn't it normal to want to marry a virtuous woman like Sister Hong as your wife? Ryosuke Yagamai said with a calm look on his face. Hey. Is your little girlfriend still here, sitting on the side? You are so brave. Anko looked surprised. She didn't expect Ryosuke Yagamai to admit it so generously. Are you really not afraid that your little girlfriend will be jealous? It's not you, Hinata, so you won't be jealous over such a trivial matter. Ryosuke Yagamai smiled and grabbed Hinata's little hand and squeezed. Right, Hinata. Hinata couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed when Ryosuke Yagamai held her hand in front of everyone. But fortunately, after the training Yagamai Ryosuke gave her over the past 2 years, Hinata has improved her character. There has been a big change. Although she is still gentle and considerate, at least she is not as timid and shy as she used to be. If she were in a situation like this 2 years ago, Hinata would most likely faint from shyness. Now, the most she can do is blush till her ears, and she is too shy to look at the eyes of the people around her. She is far from fainting. No, Anko looked at Hinata, who was shy, and lowered her head with a look of disbelief. She couldn't help but ask Hinata because she didn't understand. No, Hinata, why are you doing this? Is it possible that you still want your future husband to have other women outside? Yoi Kurene couldn't help but glare at Anko. She always felt that the other women outside Anko said was referring to her. Although Yoi Kurene didn't have that kind of idea about Yagamai Ryosuke, she was more interested in he treated him like his younger brother. But the meaning of Hongdu's words could not be more obvious. She was not a fool, so why couldn't she hear it? I don't mind. Hinata lowered her head and whispered, Ryosuke is so good, it is inevitable that many girls will like him. I can't restrain him just because he likes me. As long as he has me in his heart, I will be satisfied. Red beans. She felt that her outlook on life had been impacted in some way. In fact, even Yuki Yojeo and Yoi Hong, who were just watching the excitement, now looked at Hinata in surprise. This eldest lady of the Hyuga clan actually, so generous? Is this the education of a big family? But you are the eldest lady. Why do you feel like you are going to turn against Ryusuke Yagami? Anko and Yui Kurane couldn't understand. However, Mao Yuzian showed a thoughtful look in her eyes. She had seen part of Ryusuke Yagami's true strength. So she can probably understand how excellent the word excellent in Hinata's words actually means. If it is like this, it doesn't seem unacceptable, right? Mao Yuzian thought to herself. After all, the strong are the real rulers of this world. And someone like Ryusuke Yagami, who has such amazing strength at the age of 12, will definitely be on top of the world in the future. A man like this needs more women around him. Thinking about it, there seems to be nothing wrong with it. That's very reasonable. Moreover, Ryusuke said that Ino and I are his wings, and we should let him spread his wings and fly higher and farther, instead of keeping him firmly tied to the ground. Hinata suddenly looked at Ryusuke Yagami next to her. Her eyes were as gentle as water, full of love. This was a rare time for Hinata to muster up the courage to express her love for Ryusuke Yagami in front of so many people. This also made Ryusuke Yagami particularly touched. He held Hinata's little hand tightly and refused to let go for the rest of his life. He had such a well-behaved, obedient, and sensible girlfriend. Ryusuke Yagami felt that if he didn't cherish it, will definitely be struck by lightning. No. Ryusuke Yagami, are you a birdman? Why do you need so many wings? Finally, Ryusuke Yagami and Hinata were moved by each other, their eyes conveying deep love. However, Anko suddenly spoke, which instantly destroyed the atmosphere. Hongdu, are you allergic to romance? Ryusuke Yagami said angrily. He didn't even call me sister anymore. You call this romance? Are you sure it's not an excuse for a scumbag to be flirtatious? Hongdu sneered, as if I had seen through everything. Take care of yourself, eat so much, or you will become a fat man and no one will want you. Brat. Can you say that again? Sorry, I never repeat what I said, and you heard it clearly, don't pretend you didn't hear it clearly. Brat. I'll beat you to death. Anko jumped up from her seat, and rushed towards Yagami Ryusuke with all her teeth and claws. Yagami Ryusuke dodged in an instant, and at the same time reached out to grab Anko's hand, and twisted around to suppress her. Down. Let me go. Anko struggled for a few times and found that she couldn't break free. She was very surprised. She was a special jounin after all. And Ryusuke Yagami was just a genin who had just graduated from the ninja school. She was so easy. Was subdued by the other party? Am I drunk? Hongdu was a little self-doubt. But she clearly didn't drink. You want me to let go, unless you call me daddy. Ryusuke Yagami said with a smile. He also reached out and patted Anko. Hello. Where are you going to fight, you brat? Do you still want me to call you daddy? You are dreaming. Hongdu struggled harder and cursed unconvinced. Okay, can you two calm down for a while? Yuji Kurane slapped her forehead and looked helplessly at the two people who were making trouble again. However, she was actually quite surprised when she saw Yagami Ryusuke subduing Anko so easily. Just the performance of Yagami Ryusuke, this taijutsu ability is comparable to that of some special jounin. No wonder Hokage-sama attaches so much importance to him, and even made an exception to let one of his genin join the Umbu. Sure enough, Hokage-sama still has a sharp vision. Sister Hong, I can't help but deal with Hongdu, she's just itchy. Ryusuke Yagami said, and couldn't help but slap him a few more times. Even though Anko was thick-skinned, she couldn't bear it at this time. After all, she didn't want to lose face when being bullied like this by Ryusuke Yagami in front of her two good sisters. Yes. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Woohoo! You are bullying me. Hinata, look, your boyfriend is bullying me. Anko pretended to cry while complaining to Hinata. However, Hinata just looked at her and whispered, Sister Anko, you can't beat Ryusuke, which made Anko feel depressed. What? Ghost. What kind of ecstasy soup did Ryusuke Yagami, the brat, pour into the eldest lady of the Hyuga family? First, the previous words made Anko wonder if there was something wrong with her ears, and now she actually ignored herself being raped by Ryusuke Yagami. The fact that he was being bullied, and he was also helping the brat Yagami Ryusuke to speak up? Okay, they are indeed in a relationship between boyfriend and girlfriend. If you don't speak up for your boyfriend, is it difficult to help her? But it also depends on the situation. In this situation, it was obviously her Mitarashi Anko who suffered a big loss. Were you also taken advantage of? Can't you see it? You're just supercilious. Do you want to call or not? If you don't scream, just stay here. Ryusuke. Yagami said with a smile. 11 yen. Hongdu looked at Yuyuki Zian aside with a sad face. Mao Yuzian, on the other hand, cast a helpless look. Woohoo. Even Zian doesn't love me anymore. Hongdu feels bitter. Hong, you won't ignore death, right? She can only turn to the last person who can help her. Anko, why don't you just admit defeat? Ryusuke won't really let you call him daddy. Yui Hong said. Anko. No. Why are you all siding with this brat? I am so angry. Hongdu, are you sure you don't want to beg for mercy? Think about it, if you don't beg for mercy, you will have to be a stool for me tonight. Ryusuke Yagami said with a smile. When Anko heard this, she thought that this seemed to be the truth. She didn't want to be used as a stool all the time, and it would be uncomfortable to lie on the ground. Okay, I admit defeat, I was wrong. Hongdu finally gave in. The powerful persuasive power of King of Mouth Escape allowed her to be successfully persuaded. And Ryusuke Yagami didn't really let her call her daddy. That was just a joke. Letting go of Anko, Ryusuke Yagami saw that the woman was still unconvinced, so he shook his right hand. When Hongdo saw it, she couldn't help but blush, and quickly ran back to her seat. It's about 9 o'clock in the evening. Due to family rules, Hinata had to go home early, so Ryusuke Yagami sent her home to rest first. After sending Hinata to the Hyuga clan, Yagami Ryusuke returned to Yui Kurene's house again. As soon as he entered the door, he saw Hongdu lying on the ground without any image, holding a wine bottle in his hand, mumbling something in a daze. I'll beat you to death and the like. Yagami Ryusuke seemed to have heard his name. This woman was Ichi again. On the other side, although Ozuki Zian also drank a few drinks, she was only slightly tipsy, not like Anko, so drunk. Zian, you and Hongdu don't go back tonight, stay here with me. Zihi Hong came down from upstairs, holding 2 sets of changing pajamas in her hand. She handed one of the blue ones to Ozuki Zian, and the other set was in cream color, which was from when Hongdo came to live at her house. Often worn. Let me do it. 11 Yan helped Hongdo up on the ground and took another set of pajamas from Hong's hand. Hong, please rest for a while. I will help Hongdo to the room upstairs. 11. Yan said and directly carried Hongdo on his shoulders, as if carrying a sack. The drunk Hongdo muttered a few words, and then 11 Yan carried her upstairs. Ryusuke, do you want to go back tonight? Otherwise, you can stay here for a night. Yui Hong looked at Ryusuke Yagami aside and asked. Sister Hong, this is for you, happy birthday. Yakami Ryusuke suddenly took out a beautifully packaged box from behind, handed it to Yui Kurane, and said happy birthday, making Yui Kurane look at him in surprise. How did you, Zhao's, know that today is my birthday? Hongdu and the others told you. Yui Hong took the gift, thinking it was Anko and Yuyan who told Yagami Ryusuke about this. No, I found out from Hinata your birthday, Sister Hong, and found out that it was today. Ryusuke Yagami said. Yoi Kurane rarely celebrates birthdays. Since her father passed away, she has not celebrated in a serious way. She spent her birthdays last year and the year before last while performing tasks outside. Past. There is nothing more to say. But this year, she happened to be resting at home, so she invited two good sisters, Anko and Yojeo, plus Ryusuke Yagami and the newly accepted student Hinata. But Yoi Kurane didn't say that tonight was to celebrate her birthday, and both Yojeo and Anko knew her temper, so they didn't give her any gifts. Unexpectedly, Yagami Ryusuke actually found out about her birthday and gave her a gift in advance. She prepared such a gift. Ryusuke, thank you. Yoi Hong was very moved. She held the gift in both hands and suddenly opened her arms and hugged Ryusuke Yagami. This is the best gift I've received this year, she said in Yagami Ryusuke's ear. Then Yagami Ryusuke suddenly felt a cool touch on his mouth, and it was instant. Before he could react, Yoi Kurane smiled and let him go. Don't think too much, just reply. Ryusuke Yagami blinked, and then said something that made Kurane Yoi laugh and cry. Sister Hong, can I give you gifts every day from now on? Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 84. Late at night, in the room. Lying in bed, Yagami Ryusuke couldn't sleep, so he simply got up and took out a drop of blood sample collected previously from the system's biopheromone warehouse. Kakuzu, please don't come up with any weird talent entries. Ryusuke Yagami muttered silently in his heart, while instructing the system to convert the drop of blood on his hand into a talent entry. Ding! Conversion successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the talent entry, Worker Soul, Purple. Beat the soul of a worker? Ryusuke Yagami thought that Kakuzu would be transformed into a weird talent entry like the man who threw shurikens from 800 miles away, but he really didn't connect Kakuzu with the workman. But think about it carefully. Kakuzu is just a part-time worker of the Akatsuki organization. Zionin is his boss. Moreover, this boss is very evil. He doesn't pay even a penny of salary and spends all the money earned by his employees. Black. Too dark. Just thinking about it, I can't help but shed a few tears for our workers. The horns are too miserable. Look at the properties of this entry. Ryusuke Yagami is not sure whether this obviously funny entry will work. But it is still a purple talent entry. Even if it doesn't work, it's okay to keep it for the time being. See if there are more entries for this kind of talent. Activate the second update of the system. Beat the worker's soul, purple. Beat the worker, working spirit. Working part-time is the best way to succeed. We work part-time and I am proud. We work and we are proud. Come on, come on, come on, work hard, work hard. Your strength is add 300% in all aspects while working. Gain add 300% from your work. Comes with a tireless aura. Tireless aura, you never get tired. Even if you work overtime for 24 hours, you can still stay energetic. Ryusuke Yagami looked at the attributes of this talent entry and couldn't help but gasped. Damn it! This attribute is amazing. Under working status, the strength is increased by 300% in all aspects. And the gains from work are also increased by 300%. The last tireless aura 603 seems to be of no use to Ryusuke Yagami, but if you encounter that kind of need when you stay awake for a long time, this aura can definitely come in handy. Of course, the most important thing is the first two attributes. So awesome! Needless to say, all-round strength improvement. Previous golden talent entry. It has already appeared in Destiny's Child. However, the improvement in Destiny's Child is 500%, which is 200% more. But this talent entry for the worker soul is definitely among the best among the purple entries. It's the best. This is the first time Ryosuke Yagamai has seen a purple talent entry with such good attributes. Even the Byakugan Princess entry on Hinata. In Ryosuke Yagamai's opinion, it's all inferior. Hiden. Although Yagamai Ryosuke has a relatively immortal body in his immortality entry, if his hard power is not good enough, he will not be able to defeat him no matter how immortal he is. In contrast, Yagamai Ryosuke still prefers this kind of immortality. The attribute of the entry that improves all-round strength. And, what does all-round mean? It means the abilities that Ryosuke Yagamai currently possesses, as well as his own physical fitness. They are all included. When you think about it, don't you find out? The attributes of this entry are very variable. However, one problem is that this entry can only be activated when Ryosuke Yagamai is working. So what is considered working? What is his occupation? Umbu. No. Ryosuke Yagamai's profession is a ninja. Ninja itself is a profession, just like waiters, store owners, and samurai, they are all collective names for a certain type of people. And under what circumstances will a ninja be considered working? Of course it's a mission. In other words, as long as Ryosuke Yagamai is in the process of executing a mission, then it will be counted as him being in working condition. This is too simple. After all, as long as they leave the village, they ninjas are basically in the process of executing tasks. In other words, with this 300% all-round strength bonus, Yagamai Ryosuke, Abeb, can almost make it a permanent state. That is, in the village it doesn't count during breaks. But you won't need it then. So it doesn't matter if you have it or not. Kakuzu, I wrongly blamed you before, you are really a good person. Ryosuke Yagamai suddenly felt guilty. Did he strike too hard before? Kakuzu sent him such a good talent entry, and he even broke his two hearts. Fortunately, Kakuzu was rescued by Zetsu at that time. Otherwise, if Yagamai Ryosuke accidentally killed him, Gouda would have to build a tombstone for Kakuzu with the words "Grave of the Great Good Man Kakuzu" on it. In this way, in memory of our good man Mr. Kakuzu. His selfless dedication was not just for the Akatsuki organization. Even Ryosuke Yagamai, a Konoha ninja, deeply felt his great personality. In the wilderness, Kakuzu is on his way. Suddenly I shivered without coming. Strange, the weather is not cold either. Kakuzu tightened his windbreaker and thought to himself. In a frame on his back, a head was snoring with its eyes closed. It looked like he was sleeping soundly. Kakuzu heard Hiden snoring, and shook the frame a few times in annoyance. As a result, this guy slept worse than a pig. He didn't wake up at all. Damn it, did I owe you everything in my last life? Kakuzu cursed and muttered. But he still carried Hiden's head and continued on his way. The next day, it was just dawn. In the room, Yagamai Ryosuke, who had only slept for 2 or 3 hours, woke up. He was sleeping. No more sleep. My mental state is so good. I don't feel sleepy at all. The effect of this tireless halo is too strong. It's so annoying, I won't be able to enjoy sleeping in the future. Ryosuke Yagamai muttered, but he didn't really remove this talent entry. Get up, brush your teeth and wash your face. After completing the operation, Ryosuke Yagamai disappeared directly. For training ground. Ryosuke Yagamai introducing the hand seal. The art of multiple shadow clones. Bang bang bang. A group of 500 to 600 shadow clones appeared around him. Go ahead and continue practicing. Ryosuke Yagamai ordered to these shadow clones. Ontology, you are too stupid. That is, let us practice every time, but what about you? The shadow clones complained one by one. But complaints are complaints. But they still dispersed obediently and went to practice in training ground number 4. Ryosuke Yagami didn't stay here either. Let the shadow clones after starting to practice, he went back directly. It was around 8 o'clock in the morning. Yui Hong got up. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Good morning, Sister Hong. Yakami Ryosuke turned around and said hello to Yui Kurane with a smile. Good morning, Ryosuke. Zihi Hong smiled slightly and said, did you get up so early? Yes, I can't sleep anymore, I'm used to it. Ryosuke Yagami said. Young people are in good spirits, unlike you, Sister Hong, who is already old. No way, Sister Hong, you are still very young. I am too energetic, which is actually not good. The two chatted for a while, and Yui Hong went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. After a while, Yuyuki Zian also got up. Sister Zian, morning. Ryosuke Yagami smiled and greeted her. Morning, you got up early, right? Maoyu Zian came over and sat down next to him and asked. Well, did you wake up Sister Zian? Yagami. Ryosuke asked. Uzuki Zian shook her head and said, that's not true. In fact, I woke up in the middle, but then fell asleep again. I drank a little too much yesterday, but luckily I didn't sleep too long. At this time, Yui Hong from the kitchen also walked out with 2 simple breakfasts. Ryosuke, Zian, it's time to eat. She shouted. As for Anko? Sorry. That crazy woman was very drunk yesterday and won't get up until this afternoon. After breakfast at Yui Kurane's house, Yagami Ryosuke and Uzuki Yujeo left first. I still have to go to work today. Unlike Yui Kurane and Anko, they are both free ninjas. Although Yui Kurane still has to lead the team, the Genin team usually does not go out on missions too early. It doesn't matter if you go after 9 o'clock. And Anko? She is usually empty. Very. Nothing happened today. She slept all day without anyone caring about her. At 9 a.m. Team 7's first mission of the day began. It was still patrolling. But today it was patrolling outside the village. Not even at noon. You will come back, but you have to wait until the evening before returning to the village. Umbu's usual work not only patrols the village, but also patrols some places around the village, especially some nearby mountains. If you don't go and take a look every once in a while, maybe it has turned into a bandit camp. Although the fire country is rich, there are still a lot of bandits and bandits. Even though Konoha has wiped out many such bandits, this thing is like a leek. They cut one crop after another, but they couldn't finish it. On the top of a mountain. In the distance, you could see smoke from cooking fires floating over there. On several trees, members of Team 7 stood on the branches, looking at the smoke in the distance. I remember that the third team in this place just cleared a bandit camp half a month ago, right? It happened again so soon. Hey, ya couldn't help complaining. Which of you is coming? Maoyu Zian looked at the 4 of them and asked. Let Yayu do it, Yayu perform well. Tengu said with a smile. Ryosuke Yagami also nodded, and then used the teleportation technique, and instantly flew towards the mountain in front. After a while, Ryosuke Yagami found the bandit camp. The camp was quite simple. There was a wooden house built in the middle of the tent, and a group of bandits were making a fire to cook. There were some women with dull eyes locked in several wooden cages next to it. Ryosuke Yagami frowned slightly. Then he separated into 2. A shadow clone pointed to the cages and asked the shadow clone to rescue the people first. The 2 shadow clones acted instantly. The bandits who were making a fire for cooking did not notice them at all. The cages were opened, and the women inside just looked up. His eyes showed no sign of anger at all. Ryosuke Yagami saw this and sighed secretly. This situation is not uncommon among the 5 major countries and small countries. Ordinary people are always the most vulnerable in this world. It's hurtful. The situation here in the country of fire is actually a little better. Like some other small countries, it's even more chaotic. Sometimes these bandits will even gather a large group of people and rush directly into some towns. It's simply lawless. Brush. Brush. The 2 shadow clones rescued the imprisoned women. Seeing that they had succeeded, Ryosuke Yagami no longer concealed his figure and walked out of the darkness. Who? Because Ryosuke Yagami usually does not equip the item Invisible Person. So now the group of bandits on the opposite side noticed him at once. 20 or 30 bandits picked up their weapons and surrounded him. And Ryosuke Yagami took a look at it, drew out his ninja sword, and instantly slashed the 4 bandits on the opposite side in half. Not good. It's a ninja from Konoha. These bandits were frightened and immediately dispersed. But how could Ryosuke Yagami let them run away? You scumbags don't deserve to let me use ninjutsu. Ryosuke Yagami chased after him. He could kill 2 or 3 bandits in 1 second. These bandits were all killed by Ryosuke Yagami before they could even run out of the camp. They were all over the ground. The corpse and the smell of blood floated in the air. At this time, Mao Yuzian and others also came over. Burn it, otherwise it will easily cause a plague. Mao Yuzian looked at the corpses on the ground and said coldly, "Let me do it." The dog stepped forward, formed a seal with his hands, and released a fire escape, setting the entire camp on fire. The flames burned, burning the corpses and the entire bandit camp to ashes. When it was almost over, Black Fang used a water escape to extinguish the flames. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 85. After sending the rescued women home, Ryosuke Yagami and the Umbu Team 7 continued to patrol the surrounding areas. At the end of the day, no one was found in the bandit camp. However, they did meet a few wandering ninjas, but after seeing the costumes of their Konoha Umbu, these wandering ninjas were immediately frightened and accepted their interrogation honestly. Didn't dare to resist at all. Wandering ninjas like this usually learn at simple chakra refining techniques, and then learn some simple skills such as shuriken throwing. There are even wandering ninjas who don't know the 3-body technique. To put it bluntly, some wandering ninjas are actually samurai who can refine chakra. The better ones will have 1 or 2 C-level escape techniques. But most of them don't learn very well. What Ryosuke Yagami and the others have to be wary of are those wandering ninjas disguised as ninjas from the enemy country. These wandering ninjas are, to put it bluntly, spies. They look like wandering ninjas, but they are actually ninjas from the 5 major countries in disguise. After a day of patrolling, it was soon time to get off work. Umbu Team 7 returned to the village and disbanded. Everyone goes back to their homes. In the evening, Ryosuke Yagami went out on a date with Ino after dinner. Hinata can't come out today. The Hyuga clan has too many rules. Yesterday, if it weren't for Yui Kurane, the leader of the Jonin, I would have been there. The Hyuga clan would not allow Hinata to go home so late. This is the problem for big families. There are so many rules and they stink. Although the Yamanaka family is also a wealthy family in Konoha, after all, it is still incomparable to the Hyuga family. So there aren't that many rules. After shopping with Ino, eating some desserts, and buying some gadgets, Yagami Ryosuke rushed her back home before 9 o'clock. Good night, Ryosuke. Ino waved to Ryosuke Yagami, and then skipped home happily. When Ryosuke Yagami left, he looked back and saw a middle-aged man with an ugly face on the 2nd floor. Looking at himself, he smiled at the other person. But the other person turned around and closed the window. That's right. That middle-aged man with an ugly face was Ino's father, Yamanaka Hiki. In the next few days, the village was calm except for the gossip about Elder Danzo that is still circulating in the village and has become the content of many people's after-dinner chats. Nothing special happened. Ryosuke Yagami also went to and from work every day, and then used it on time. The number of transformations once. Previously, he transformed a purple talent entry such as Worker Soul on Kakuzu, and then the next day, under his expectant gaze, he transformed Danzo's talent entry. As a result, I got a rubbish talent entry of first generation Minakage. The attribute is that the more scapegoats are taken, the higher the chakra increase. And it also comes with a bake blame man aura. Ryosuke Yagami was speechless. First of all, he has no shortage of chakra. Secondly, he likes to take the blame. Therefore, this talent entry is destined to be broken down by him in the future. But for now, Yagami Ryosuke is still going to keep it. Mainly because he wants to see it. Will the system be updated after the number of entries increases? On the other hand, in the past few days, Danzo's life can be said to be quite bad. Not only because the fact that he turned into a woman was criticized by the whole village, the news spread all over the place and he became the laughing stock of everyone. Also, he was extremely unlucky these days. How unlucky was he? Even if he just walked a few steps, he would step on all kinds of weird things, and he would eat half of his meal. Bugs and the like. Moreover, once he goes out, he will often encounter passers-by quarreling, and then it accidentally affects him. There are often two people quarreling over there, and they start spitting at each other. Water or something. Then Danzo passed by and was spat on several times for no apparent reason. Don't do too many things like this. Even birds flying from the sky would poop on his head. Danzo felt like he was being tricked. What kind of curse? Otherwise, why would he become more and more unlucky? He was so scared that he didn't dare to go out. He just locked himself in a room every day, hoping that Orochimaru's plan would start soon and kill Sarutobi as soon as possible. That bastard Hiruzen, so that he can take the position of Hokage. Yes, Danzo is like this, but he is still imagining that he can take the position of Hokage after Hiruzen Sarutobi dies. I don't know where he came from self-confidence. Today is the 15th day since Ryosuke Yagami joined Umbu. That is, it has been half a month. In half a month, Ryosuke Yagami has become completely familiar with the working mode of Umbu. Already from a newbie, he has transformed into an old bird. The training ground of Team 7. Today, Team 7 has no tasks, so everyone is practicing separately in the training ground. Ryosuke Yagami is also holding a ninja sword and practicing swordsmanship. Recently, his swordsmanship has improved and his skills have become more proficient. This is also thanks to Ozuki Yogan, who often practices with him and teaches him moves. Originally, Yagami Ryosuke's swordsmanship relied more on his powerful swordsmanship. The physical fitness is to deadlift. In terms of technique, as he said at the beginning, it can only be regarded as average. But now, even if his physical fitness is the same, Yagami Ryosuke's swordsmanship is no longer inferior to that of any special jounin who is good at swordsmanship. At least in the sparring session with Yuyuki Zien. Ryosuke Yagami can already beat her with swordsmanship alone. This made Maoyu Zien very depressed. She has practiced swordsmanship for so many years to reach this level. As a result, Ryosuke Yagami's swordsmanship foundation was very average at the beginning, but after only half a month of practice, he was already comparable to her. Maoyu Zien once again realized that the gap between people is sometimes even bigger than that between people and pigs. Brush. At this time, Ozuki Zien wearing an Umbu mask suddenly appeared on the training ground. "Come and gather," she shouted. "Captain, do you have a mission?" Tiangu ran over and asked. "No, the squad leader arranged by above has arrived. I will take you over to get to know him," Maoyu Zien said. "Squad leader? Did he come by air?" Since Mao Yuzian said she was acquainted, it was obvious that they didn't know that person. And there was no one in the second team that they didn't know. Then he could only be airborne. Stop talking nonsense and follow me. Yu Yukizian glanced at Tengu, and then rushed to the gathering place with everyone from Class 7. Soon, several people from Class 7 arrived at the gathering place. At this time, 4 classes from their second team they were almost there. After waiting for a while, 2 ninjas wearing UMBU uniforms came from not far away. One of them was the deputy director of UMBU, and the other should be the new captain of the second team. Knight Ryuzukami stood in the crowd and looked at the squad leader curiously. The other person was wearing a mask and could not see his face. But through the eyes of the mask, a pair of slightly clear eyes could be seen. Young Ryusuke Yagami? I thought to myself. At this time, the deputy minister in front also introduced their new team leader to the members of their second team. This is a member of the escort team directly under the Hokage, codenamed Tenzo. From now on, he will be the captain of your second team. Everyone looked at this Tenzo in silence. But they thought in their hearts that he must be somewhat capable to join the Hokage-sama's direct escort team. At least, an elite Jonin cannot escape with his strength. And the crowd, when he heard the deputy minister introduce the code name of the new unit leader, Yagami Ryuzuke couldn't help but his eyes lit up. Tenzo? Isn't that Yamato? Mudun. Ryusuke Yagami stared at the masked man. He didn't expect that their new team leader would be Yamato, the owner of Wood Release. It is said that Senju Hashirama's Wood Release conquers the world, and Yamato's Wood Release we can only engage in greening. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. But that's because Yamato doesn't have a fairy body, so he can't integrate the Yang escape into the Wood escape, making the Wood escape full of vitality. Chien, why is thou Hashirama's Wood Release so strong? In fact, it is not the Wood Release that is stronger, but Senju Hashirama. You will know this when you look at Yamato. In fact, Yamato's Wood Release is what a real Wood Release should be like. The Senju Hashirama one? That's beyond the standard. At this moment, Ryusuke Yagami was thinking, if he transformed a talent entry from Yamato, would it be related to Wood Release? 0 asking for flowers 0. The probability is very high. After all, Yamato's special abilities are almost all given by Mudun. Whether it is a spoof like greening or the source of his own strength, it is all closely related to Mudun. Therefore, if you can get a copy of Yamato's biological pheromones, then transformed talent entry will be accompanied by a Wood escape. Certainly. What comes with it must be the Yamato version of Wood Release. But it's okay. Ryusuke Yagami can upgrade the entries. What's more, Yamato doesn't have a fairy body, but Ryusuke Yagami does. Although his immortal body is only a junior immortal body, it is incomparable to Senju Hashirama's advanced immortal body. But with the blessing of Wood Release, the power of Wood Release is 2 or 3 times greater than Yamato's, right? Plus various other entries on him. When the time comes, it will be easy to use the power that is no worse than Senju Hashirama. What if the entries transformed from Yamato are upgraded? Is it possible to overtake Senju Hashirama, the founder of Mudun? The deputy minister left after introducing Tianzang. He handed this place over to Tianzang, the new squad leader. Tianzang also explained some of his arrangements after becoming the squad leader. In fact, he continued to use the same routine as Hinata Chuji. Normally I won't take care of them, I just need to be on call when there is a task, and I can't fish in troubled waters. After a few brief words, Tianzang let everyone disperse. Ryusuke Yagami was still thinking about how to get a copy of Biopheromone from Tenzo, and then he saw Tenzo walking towards their 7th team. Captain Tenzo. A few people in Class 7 quickly shut up. Just now they were discussing the quality of the new squad leader. The big-mouthed Tengu even doubted whether the other party had the ability to lead their second squad. As a result, he came over. They were so frightened that they thought they had heard what they were discussing in a low voice. "Your name is Yayu, right? I heard Hokage-sama mention you, and Hokage-sama has always been very optimistic about you." Tianzang came over and went directly to Yagami Ryuzyuk. This made Heiya and the others secretly relieved. It's just that they didn't come here to raise an army and ask for guilt. However, Yayu, this kid, really has a good reputation. Even the newcomers are divided. The captain would take the initiative to come over and have a chat with him. Unlike them, he was completely ignored. Captain Tenzo was previously a member of the escort team directly under the third generation. Ryusuke Yagami also asked. "Yes, I was actually a member of Umbu before, but I never came to the headquarters," Tianzang said. As the escort of the Hokage, his usual job is actually to follow the Hokage and protect his safety. There are no other tasks. Then he receives a salary every month. In terms of the nature of the work, it is easier than ordinary Umbu like them. More. The key is to get a lot of money. It is very enviable. However, there are standards for joining the guards. This mainly depends on the Hokage of each period. For example, during the fourth generation, the requirements for strength are relatively high. Loose. But the Sandaime, who came to power again, has strict requirements for the strength of the escort team. It must be an elite jounin. This immediately eliminated 99% of the ninjas in Konoha. However, this rule actually varies from person to person. For example, Tenzo in front of me. When he joined the guard, his strength was not yet that of an elite jounin. But because he had would escape, he was allowed to join as an exception. "Captain Tenzo, I wonder if I can have a fight with you," Ryusuke Yagami said suddenly. "Ah? Why?" Tenzo was stunned for a moment. He came here just to say hello to this civilian genius whom Hokage valued. Unexpectedly, Yagami Ryusuke came up and said that he wanted to fight with him. Is this a new meeting gift? P.S. The fourth update is here. Please give me a monthly vote. Brothers who have monthly votes, please vote. Thank you everyone. 6. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 86. It's nothing, I just want to see how far behind I am compared to an elite jounin like you, Captain Tenzo. Ryusuke Yagami said. Of course. In fact, it is to get the biological pheromones on Tenzo's body so as to transform the talent entries. That's it, fine then. Tianzang thought for a while, and he happened to be very curious about this civilian genius whom the Hokage valued. It just happened that he could try the opponent's current strength. I heard that the opponent also awakened some special physique like blood successor limit. I don't know. How does it compare with his own wood release? Tenzo is also looking forward to it. Of course. He never thought that he would lose to Yagami Ryusuke. More importantly, he just wanted to give guidance to this junior. After all, he is an elite jounin. Although Ryusuke Yagami is not a pure genin, he is a special jounin because of his strength, right? There is an official jounin in between. It is impossible to lose. But you can't win too fast. Otherwise it will easily damage the self-confidence of young people. Tianzang thought that when the fight started later, he would not use all his strength to try the level of Yagami Ryusuke, a civilian genius. When he was almost done, he would show his reel to defeat him. Then give him some advice and encourage him. On the training ground, everyone else in Umbu Team 7 retreated to the edge. How long do you think Yayu can last in the hands of this new squad leader? Heiya looked at the Tengu and Shadow beside him and asked them. At least 10 minutes, Yayu is very strong. Tengu looked at 140 and looked quite confident in Ryusuke Yagami. About 5 minutes. Shadow thought for a while and gave a more satisfactory answer. Although the new squad leader doesn't know the specific strength, he must be a powerful elite jonin. With such strength, if he takes action seriously, I'm afraid he couldn't last even 2 or 3 minutes. But considering that the other party wouldn't be so serious from the beginning. Shadow guessed the answer for 5 minutes. No, what do you mean, Shadow? Do you look down on Yayu? When Tengu heard that the time given by the Shadow was half less than his own, he was immediately unhappy. Yayu is a genius who can defeat me. He can at least last for more than 10 minutes. 5 minutes is too much to look down on Yayu. The Shadow glanced at him indifferently and said nothing. In fact, he was thinking in his heart that the end point of the Tengu guy's words was that Yayu Zengjin had defeated him. If even Yayu could only hold on for 5 minutes in the hands of the new squad leader. If it is left or right, then the Tengu is not as strong as Yayu. Isn't it difficult to hold out for even 1 minute? That seems like he is too easy. However, the Shadow did not say what was in his heart. He just glanced at the Tengu, and then silently, he continued to observe the situation on the field. On the other side, Ozuki Zien listened to the three of them discussing how long Yagami Ryusuke could hold on to Tenzo's hands, and couldn't help but feel a strange feeling in his heart. These guy, I really don't know Yagami Ryusuke's strength. 10 minutes or 5 minutes. The reverse is more or less the same. No. Based on Ozuki Yogan's understanding of Yagami Ryusuke, if it was really a life and death fight, the new Tenzo captain might not be able to last even 1 minute. Just a face-to-face meeting and you'll be there in seconds. But why does Ryusuke want to fight with this new squad leader? Ozuki Zien couldn't understand it. As for what Yagami Ryusuke just said, you want to see the gap between yourself and the elite jounin? Others will believe this, but Ozuki Zien doesn't believe a word of it. So I just can't understand what Yagami Ryusuke is doing. Is there something special about this new squad leader? Ozuki Zien guessed in her mind. Yayu, let's get started, you take the first shot. Tenzo looked at Yagami Ryusuke opposite and said. After all, he is an elite jonin. When fighting against a genin, there is no reason to attack first. That would be too bullying. Captain Tenzo, I'm going to do it. Ryusuke Yagami took out the ninja sword from his waist and disappeared in an instant. So fast. Tenzo looked at Yagami Ryusuke's speed with some surprise. At least in terms of speed, Yagami Ryusuke's performance was no worse than any official jounin. Such speed made Tenzang a little more serious. Next 1 second, the two of them fought quickly in the field. Neither party used ninjutsu, but fought with pure physical skills. The two of them fought at such a fast speed that Black Fang and others outside the field were a little surprised. Not sure about some of the details. No. Has Yayu's strength improved compared to last time? Tengu couldn't help but be surprised when he looked at Yagami Ryusuke, who was fighting equally with the squad leader on the field. Yayu's talent is too strong. In such a short period of time, her strength has improved. She is indeed a genius valued by the Hokage. Heiya nodded, feeling very envious in his heart. What a pity. He has no chance anymore. He just hopes that his future children will be more talented than his father. At least they can have a genius or something in their family. Don't ask for anything. For someone as talented as Ryusuke Yagami, it would be enough to have about a third of it. Bang bang. On the field, Ryusuke Yagami's ninja sword struck Tenzo's Konoha. The two were separated at the first touch. Immediately, Tenzo looked at the Konoha in his hand and found that the surface of the Konoha had cracked several times and was completely unusable. This boy is so strong. Tianzang twisted his wrist, feeling that his hand was a little sore from the fight just now. he is indeed a genius who has awakened the limit of blood inheritance. This physical fitness is really strong. Yayu, you are no longer inferior to any jounin in terms of physical skills, but the competition between ninjas is not just about physical skills. Next, I will use ninjutsu to fight you, so please pay attention. Tenzo already has a general understanding of Ryusuke Yagamai's strength. The opponent is a ninja who has awakened the physical limit of blood inheritance, and his strength is basically based on a powerful body of taijutsu. Therefore, Tenzo does not have any other ninjutsu or anything like that. I feel that Ryusuke Yagamai can be as good as taijutsu. So the test of Ryusuke Yagamai's strength has been completed. The next step is to make him realize that ninjas cannot fight with taijutsu alone. Even ninjutsu, the talent in ninjutsu is not as good as that of taijutsu, but the importance of ninjutsu cannot be ignored. Captain Tenzo, come on. Moreover, I am not just good at physical skills. Ryusuke Yagamai said with a faint smile. It's good to have confidence, but don't underestimate any elite jounin. Tianzang said, shouting loudly and forming seals with his hands. Earth escape. Earth flow gun. Boom. Under Yagamai Ryusuke's feet, sharp rocks pierced the ground and attacked him. Don't you need wood escape? Ryusuke Yagamai thought to himself. At the same time, he dodged Tenzo's earth flow spear and rushed towards the opponent. Water escape. Water wave hand. Without seeing any movement from Tenzo, he released a large amount of water from his hand and rushed towards Yagamai Ryusuke like a wave. Yagamai Ryusuke was washed away by the waves. And Tenzo also caught. I took this opportunity and quickly formed a seal with both hands. Wood escape. The art of the big forest. What? To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. The expressions of the four people outside the venue suddenly changed. That is, wood escape. Black Fang's eyes widened in shock. He couldn't believe that one day he could see a ninja using wood release. You know, in Konoha, wood release is a mythical existence. That was the first Hokage Chien. Dao Hashirama's specialty, blood continuation limit, and one move of wood release, directly established the structure of the 5 hidden villages today. Although in today's ninja school textbooks, it is always written that the third Hokage is the strongest Hokage. But in fact, many people older ninjas know it in their hearts. The Sandaime Hokage is very strong, but compared to the first generation Hokage who founded Konoha village, there is still a gap in strength. It turned out to be Mudun. Yuyuki Zian also looked at the wooden escape performed by Tenzang in surprise. She suddenly understood why Ryusuke Yagamai insisted on fighting Tenzo. Is it because of the wooden escape? But how did Yagamai Ryusuke know that Tenzo knew how to escape? This should be a secret in the village, right? Mao Yuzian thought in confusion. At this time on the field, Tenzo, who used the technique of the big forest, also used the wooden escape to bind Yagamai Ryusuke, who was washed away by the water and flew backwards. Yayu, you are too careless. Tianzang said with a smile. Is it? Captain Tenzo. Ryusuke Yagamai, who was tied up by the branches, suddenly smiled. Tenzo immediately realized that he had fallen into the trap. Sure enough. In the next second, another Ryusuke Yagamai appeared under his feet. Earth escape. The art of beheading in the heart. Grabbing Tenzo's legs with both hands, Yagamai Ryusuke dragged him directly into the ground. Only one head was left, still exposed. Brush. Yagamai Ryusuke's figure appeared in front of Tenzo. And the Yagamai Ryusuke who was bound by the branches turned into a piece of wood with a bang. It turned out that Yagamai Ryusuke had already used the substitute technique, and used the substitute and transformation to deceive Tenzo, making him mistakenly think that he is the true form of Yagamai Ryusuke. A smart tactic, but you are still careless after all. Tenzo, who had only one head left on the ground, smiled and praised. Immediately, Yagami Ryusuke discovered that Tenzo Underground had turned into a wooden stand-in. This is, wooden double. At the same time, Tianzang's real body also appeared not far away. His hands quickly formed seals. Wood escape. Thorns killing technique. Boom. 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 Huge wooden pillars surrounded Yagami Ryusuke, trapping him inside. At the same time, a large amount of wood extended out and quickly tied up his body. Yagami Ryusuke used the ninja sword split several pieces of wood, but was unable to stop all of them. In the end, they were tightly tied up. They couldn't move. The wood escapes. The tree is bound to be buried forever. Tianzang didn't stop and directly used another wooden escape. This time, he wanted to end this battle. And on the other side, Ryusuke Yagami, who had opened his Byakugan and Sharingan at some point, also passed the Sharingan copied all the wood release that Tenzo had used. Of course, the copy was a copy, but he doesn't know how to use the wood release yet, so he couldn't use it even if he copied it. But it's okay. Because Ryusuke Yagami is very fast. You can have the same wood escape blood inheritance limit. The next second, Tenzo's tree-bound eternal burial came, and the huge tree crushed Yagami Ryusuke into the ground, as if to bury him underground forever. But at this moment, Ryusuke Yagami, who was squeezed, suddenly disappeared with a bang. It turned out to be a shadow clone. Tianzang looked at Yagami Ryusuke, who disappeared in surprise. No, it had clearly hit him before. If it was a shadow clone, it should have disappeared long ago. Tianzang frowned, instinctively feeling that something was wrong. Could it be? The next moment, Tianzang instantly formed a seal 1.0. Illusion. Solution. After the things in front of him blurred for a while, the illusion cast on Tenzo was unlocked by him. Of course, this was the result of Ryusuke Yagami deliberately letting the water go. Otherwise, with his level of illusion, even if Tenzo was solved to death, it was also impossible to unlock his genjutsu. This was the case with Tenzo before. Let alone Tenzo. After unlocking the genjutsu, Tenzo realized that he had not caught Yagami Ryusuke from the beginning to the end. His would escape, what he grabbed was just a stone. No wonder. Tenzo glanced around with vigilant eyes, looking for the location of Yagami Ryusuke. At this moment, swish, brush, brush. A series of Konoha were directed toward the sky. An attack came from where Zhang was. He quickly dodged. These Konoha were scattered around him in a chaotic manner. What's going on? So many Konoha, are they scattered around? Tenzo can't understand Yagami Ryusuke. The operation was carried out. And in the next second, brush. A sword light struck from behind instantly. The speed was too fast. It came so unexpectedly that Tenzo didn't react in a hurry at all, and was directly hit by Ryusuke Yagami's ninja sword. A shallow wound was made on his back. Poof. Blood splattered. Tianzang hurriedly dodged, and then touched his back in disbelief. This is... He suddenly looked at the Konoha on the ground. The art of flying thunder god. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 87. Did you see it clearly just now? Hey ya, asked the person next to him stupidly. Yayu seemed to appear suddenly. Tengu scratched his scalp and said. It appeared out of thin air, never moved, and then disappeared again. Shadow's voice was a little more excited, not as calm as usual. It's the art of flying thunder god. That ninjutsu of the Yondaime Hokage. Uzuki Zen's eyes sparkled. She didn't expect that Ryusuke Yagami could even learn the space-time ninjutsu that the 4th generation Hokage is good at. This is too awesome. That's the legendary Yellow Flash. Ah! If he hadn't died in the Ninetales incident, he would still be sitting firmly in the position of Hokage. And to be honest, if such a young and powerful Hokage could be on the throne, it would be a blessing to the entire village. A good thing. Uzuki Yojo is not saying that Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage, is not good. But he is still older. Whether it is combat power or the way he handles some things, he is incomparable to young people. Back then the fourth generation used the Flying Thunder God technique to instantly kill 40 or 50 enemy Jonin, shocking the 5 major nations in one fell swoop, so much so that the other 4 major ninja villages publicly announced that if they encountered Namikaze Minato during the mission, they would not give up the mission. It's considered a failure. What is this called? This is called fighting. And it can't be killed in real life. And in comparison, what about Sarutobi Hiruzen? The strongest Hokage in history in the textbook? Dr. Ninja? Shinobu. Maybe Hiruzen Sarutobi-Jan was really outstanding when he was young. But to be honest, many people really couldn't accept the things he did when he got older. It was just because of his soft-spoken personality and the difficulty of going against the senior management. It's no good. That's why few people show such thoughts. But people all have memories. They will remember some of the things you have done before. Maybe these people won't say or do anything at the moment, but once you have lost power and no longer have a high and powerful position. When the time comes, they will naturally rehash all the things you have done in the past, just like old scores. And, what they say this time is not praise. And agreed. Instead, it was accusations and insults. This is how the world is. If Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't die like a hero in the hands of Orochimaru in the end, his final result would definitely not be much better. Of course. In that case, is another story. Uzuki Zen is still young, in her early 20s, she actually doesn't know much about many things in the past. For example, the Heitake Sakumo incident. How old was she at that time? She was only 4 years old. What can a 4-year-old girl know? Even her memory at that time has been completely blurred. However, Uzuki Zen was already 10 years old during the Kuwabai incident and could already remember it. Therefore, for the Kuwabai incident and the 4 at that time, the Dame Hokage, Namikaze Minato, was also deeply impressed. Therefore, Uzuki Yojo was also quite surprised when he saw Ryusuke Yagamai using the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. This ninjutsu seems to have no one since Namikaze Minato. Have you learned how to do it? Even the Hokage guards during Namikaze Minato's reign needed many people to work together to create a Flying Thunder God formation. To put it bluntly, it was almost the same as Kyumigakuru's heavenly sending technique. It was impossible. It is comparable to the effect used by Namikaze Minato. On the field, Tenzo, who recognized the Flying Thunder God technique, was also paying careful attention to his surroundings at this time, and at the same time used Earth Release, intending to destroy the terrain. Earth Escape. Earth Flow Cut. Tianzang slapped the ground with one hand, and the earth shook instantly, and cracks tore open, swallowing up the kunai nailed to the ground. Brush. At this moment, another kunai flew from the distance. Tenzang immediately upon discovering this attack, he formed 2 wooden clones using seals, protecting himself one after the other and blocking the kunai, shuriken and other things flying over. At the same time, Ryusuke Yagamai, who was hiding in the dark, also looked at Tenzo who was destroying the terrain and was protected by wooden clones in front and behind. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised, revealing a smile. Do you think this is enough? Ryusuke Yagamai chuckled, and then disappeared in a flash. Bang! A fist instantly hit one of Tenzo's wooden clones. The wooden clone was smashed to pieces on the spot, turning into sawdust and flying in the sky. At the same time, another wooden clone was also attacked at almost the same moment. It was also a fist. One punch destroyed Tenzo's wooden clone. What? Tenzo looked at the sudden appearance of Ryosuke Yagamai in shock. He had obviously destroyed the flying thunder god Konoha around him. But why did Ryosuke Yagamai appear near him in an instant? What on earth is going on? Tenzo couldn't find the reason even if he tried to break his head. However, Yagamai Ryosuke didn't give him any time to think about this problem clearly, and used the flying thunder god technique to flash and disappear again and again. Even though Tenzo had already used wood release, he was proficient in martial arts and his physical skills were not bad, but in the face of Ryosuke Yagamai's unpredictable attacks, he was still defeated in minutes. Brush. The ninja sword stopped in front of Tenzo's forehead. The sharp edge on the blade they even cut off a few of his hair. Tenzo was stunned in place. Obviously he didn't expect that he would lose to Yagamai Ryosuke. Although the opponent was a genius ninja who had awakened the blood successor limit, in the end he was just a 12-year-old child. Tianzang found it difficult to accept the fact that he had lost to a child. After a few seconds, he smiled bitterly and said, "You won." Brush. Ryosuke Yagamai sheathed the sword. "Captain Tenzo, I only managed to win one match by chance because you were not familiar with my flying thunder god technique. If it happens again, I'm afraid I won't be able to defeat you," Ryosuke Yagamai said humbly. Tenzo also shook his head when he heard this. Even if it were to happen again, it would be difficult to change this result. The flying thunder god technique is too incomprehensible. Unless you are like Raikage, who has extremely fast speed and can keep up with your teleportation, otherwise you will not be able to use the flying thunder god technique. The ninja is almost invincible. Tenzo knew very well that even if he had to do it again, he would not be able to defeat Yagamai Ryosuke, who had learned the flying thunder god technique. There is no way, the time and space ninjutsu is so unsolvable. Unless your speed is really extremely fast. Like Zengjin Sandaime Raikage, he is not afraid of the flying thunder god technique, but it will also be quite hard to fight. After all, you have to be alert at all times and be careful of the opponent's attacks. In such a state, I'm afraid that I won't be able to maintain it for long before I'm physically and mentally exhausted. And the ninjas with the flying thunder god technique only need to look at each other from a distance. Just relying on that kind of psychological pressure is enough to gain a huge advantage. So, even if they know about Yagamai Ryo, knowing how to use the flying thunder god technique, even if Tenzo studies how to deal with Ryosuke Yagamai's flying thunder god technique. But when it comes time to actually do it, the result will not be much better than it is now. By the way, I obviously destroyed your flying thunder god Konoha. How did you teleport here? Regarding this issue, Tenzo still hasn't figured it out yet. Apparently all the flying thunder god Konoha on the ground have been destroyed by him using Earth Escape. And there are no other flying thunder god Konoha flying over. What on earth did Ryosuke Yagamai do? Appearing near him. Regarding this, Captain Tenzo, you can actually look at your feet. Ryosuke Yagamai said. At your feet? Tenzo looked down at the ground at his feet. He suddenly showed an expression of realization. When did you do it? He looked at the special symbols left in some places on the ground. This symbol looked like a crescent moon. Because it was quite small, it was easy to miss it if you didn't look carefully. In the battle just now, the Sky Zhang's attention has always been on those flying thunder god Konoha, and he was careful to be on guard against Ryosuke Yagamai who might appear at any time. He didn't even notice that there was such a symbol on the ground beside his feet. It was when I was fighting Taijutsu with you, Captain Tenzo. Ryosuke Yagamai replied. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. That's that time. Tianzang suddenly said, but were you already making preparations at that time, Yagamai? Ryosuke shook his head and said, no, I'm actually just prepared. In fact, if Yagamai Ryosuke hadn't studied the Flying Thunder God's technique thoroughly enough and it would take a certain amount of time to leave the Flying Thunder God's mark, He could have left a flying thunder mark on Tenzo's body. Just like wave, it's the same mark that the Feng Shui sect left on Obito. Unless someone who has learned the flying thunder god technique can erase this kind of mark, otherwise you can only dig out the piece of flesh. Otherwise, it cannot be removed at all. Moreover, many times you will not realize that the mark of the flying thunder god is left on you. You will not know how you died until you die. Fortunately, the learning requirements of the flying thunder god technique are extremely demanding, and you need to have time and space tolerance. Otherwise, if a few more people learn this ninjutsu, wouldn't Konoha be invincible? After chatting with Tenzo for a few more words, Tenzo, who was very emotional in his heart, also said goodbye and left. And Yagami Ryosuke was also warmly welcomed by his teammates. Then they all asked him when he learned the Flying Thunder God technique, and whether it was difficult to learn the Flying Thunder God technique. Yagami Ryosuke answered a few of their questions. After satisfying their curiosity, they found an excuse to leave the training ground. Somewhere in the training ground number 1. Ryosuke Yagami used the technique of perception to explore the surroundings, and then observed with his white eyes, and determined after no one was around, he took out a drop of Tenzo's blood from the biopheromone warehouse. System, transform it. It just so happens that he hasn't used up the number of transformations today. Ryosuke Yagami can't wait to see what kind of talent entries Tenzo can transform. But don't let him down. The one in his hand, the blood disappears. The next second. Ding. Conversion successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the talent entry, Konoha Architect, Blue. The blue talent entry is no surprise. Ryosuke Yagami was not surprised. After all, Tenzo's strength is only at the elite Jonin level. The talent entry converted from 957 is blue, which is normal. The Jounin level, whether it is a special Jounin or an elite Jounin, is a blue entry. With very few exceptions. Basically there will be no changes. It's mainly about the attributes of the entries, right? Is there any wood escape? If there is a wood release, Yagami Ryosuke wouldn't mind investing 1000 experience points in it to upgrade it to purple. In this way, Ryosuke Yagami has both Susanna and wood release. Just one person can realize the famous scene of Susanata Daibutsu. Wouldn't it be possible for one person to destroy 4 countries by then? No. In fact, it's no problem to destroy the 5 countries. Take a look at the specific properties. Ryosuke Yagami immediately opened the character panel and checked the attribute content of this entry. Konoha Architect, Blue. You are Konoha's master architect. Without you, Konoha's real estate will completely collapse. Countless families rely on you to live in warm houses, so people affectionately call you Mu Architect. Yet would escape power at 30%. The beauty of the built houses is at 30%. Comes with wood release, Yamato version. Really? Ryosuke Yagami couldn't help but his eyes lit up when he saw the wooden escape attached at the end. The attribute of wood release's power bonus appeared earlier, and Yagami Ryosuke guessed that there must be wood release's ability in the future. As expected. This guy Tenzo lived up to his expectations. Sure enough, he was given a copy of wood release. Thanks to Tianzang Laotai for sending me wood release. Ryosuke Yagami looked at the talent entry in front of him and couldn't help but laughed. Fortunately, no one was around, otherwise I might have thought there was something wrong with Ryosuke Yagami. After a while, Yagami Ryosuke directly invested 1000 experience points. Upgraded the talent entry of this Konoha Architect from blue to purple. The name of the entry also changed accordingly. Konoha Architect Successor of Wood Release. The attributes of talent entries have also changed. Successor of Wood Release, purple. You are the successor of Wood Release. Your Wood Release ability is much better than that of a certain Konoha Architect, but you are still not on par with the founder of Senju Hashirama. Would escape power at 350%. Mudun development efficiency at 400%. Comes with wood release, weakened version of Senju Hashirama. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 88. The talent entries after the upgrade have obviously changed a lot compared to before the upgrade. First of all, the stand-in effect of wood releases power has changed from a pitiful 30% before to 350% now. It's directly improved by more than 10 times. Moreover, the previously useless aesthetic attributes of the house are gone. Instead, there is an attribute of wood escape development efficiency. The main function of this attribute is to improve the efficiency of developing different types of wood escape and using ninjutsu. Where do you think Senju Hashirama's wood release ninjutsu came from? They are all developed by themselves. After all, as the first ninja to possess wood release, he had no previous experience to draw from and could only develop it himself. It can be seen from this point that both Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobirama are creative geniuses who are particularly good at developing ninjutsu. One created a lot of forbidden techniques. One who created a lot of wood escape ninjutsu. And with this attribute that improves development efficiency, if Ryosuke Yagamai wants to develop any wood escape ninjutsu himself in the future, the effect will be twice the result with half the effort. Maybe in the future we can create a wood escape that is stronger than the Buddha on the top. And finally comes the wood escape ability. It is also an escape from the original pure Yamato version. It became a weakened version of the current Senju Hashirama. Don't underestimate this change. Yamato's version of wood release is almost a weakened version of Rond Hashirama's wood release. And the wood release that Yagamai Ryosuke now possesses is just a weakened version. It can be said that the effect is several times stronger than that of Yamato. However, the wood escape power bonus, doesn't Mudun enjoy the bonus of the entry of ninjutsu power? Ryosuke Yagamai looked at the first attribute on the entry and suddenly thought of a possibility. So he immediately equipped this wood release successor entry. Then he formed a seal with both hands and used the wood escape ninjutsu copied over there. Wood escape. The art of the big forest. Crash. In an instant, Yagamai Ryosuke's right hand seemed to turn into countless branches, quickly extending and wrapping around a large rock 20 or 30 meters away in front of him. Click. There was a bang. The big stone was crushed directly by the branches into gravel, which was scattered all over the ground. The effect is indeed much stronger than the big forest technique that Tianzang used before. Ryosuke Yagamai looked at this effect and thought to himself. However, after excluding the improvement of the wood release itself and the influence of Ryosuke Yagamai's primary immortal body, it seems to be just as good as Tenzo's great forest technique. It looks like 3 or 4 times stronger. It's not as strong as 10 times. So, does the attribute of ninjutsu power really have no effect on wood release? Ryosuke Yagamai frowned. So he directly threw the question to the system and asked him what was going on. The so-called ninjutsu does not include the techniques developed by blood successor abilities such as blood successor limit, blood successor elimination, and blood successor snare. The system quickly gave the answer. Is it like this? Ryosuke Yagamai understood. In other words, the power of ninjutsu is increased only by ordinary ninjutsu. Those related to blood successors are not included. If you think about it carefully, it seems right. For example, the Uchiha clan uses Sharingan to increase the power of ninjutsu. Some jutsu created by the eye. Similar to Izanagi and Izanami. They are all blood successor ninjutsu developed on the basis of Sharingan. Even the pupil jutsu, including the birth of kaleidoscope, is also a blood successor ninjutsu. A type of ninjutsu. It's just that the former needs to be developed by yourself. The latter can be learned automatically as long as the kaleidoscope is turned on. But, the entry attribute of ninjutsu power will obviously not improve the eye technique of the kaleidoscope. Natural, nor it will enhance the effect of those bloody ninjutsu. Although it feels like a bit of a loss, It makes sense when you think about it. Ryosuke Yagami reluctantly accepted the setting. Although this way, the power of wood release has become much smaller. But at least there is a separate entry for the power bonus of wood release. 350% is not a lot. What's more, this is just a purple entry. If you upgrade to gold, this attribute will skyrocket. And what if you don't upgrade? As long as there is this 350% bonus attribute, Yagami Ryosuke's wood release will always be the strongest one. Even if Senju Hashirama is resurrected, it can't change all this. Of course. The premise is that Yagami Ryosuke must first develop his immortal body to an advanced level. At least in this aspect, he must just be on par with Senju Hashirama. Otherwise, there is no comparison. The power of my current wood release is probably only 2 or 3 times worse than Senju Hashirama's wood release, so the gap is not that big. Yamato's wood release is too different from Senju Hashirama's wood release, dozens of times the difference. And Ryosuke Yagami's weakened version of Senju Hashirama's wood release is compared to Senju Hashirama's original version. There is almost a gap of more than 10 times. But after adding in the 350% wood escape power bonus, the rest is only 4 or 5 times. And then counting Yagami Ryosuke's primary immortal body, this gap it has been further reduced to about 2 or 3 times. Yagami Ryosuke's immortal body has almost been upgraded to the intermediate level. This gap can be bridged. In other words, any improvement that Yagami Ryosuke will achieve in the future will be due to the Senju pillar and improvement over the founder of wood release. Of course, Ryosuke Yagami is far behind Senju Hashirama in the use of wood release. For example, he only knows a few wood release ninjutsu. It was copied from Tianzang. By the way, don't I actually need to form seals? Ryosuke Yagami suddenly thought. Then he tried it. With a clap of his hands, the chakra in his body was released instantly. Bang! The next second, an identical Ryosuke Yagami appeared on his left. Ryosuke Yagami looking at Mijilfa wooden clone. Then he nodded with satisfaction. Sure enough, my wood release ability is enough to be used smoothly without forming seals, but for other ninjutsu, it seems that I still need some practice to save the process of forming seals. The so-called seals are actually a way to assist the use of ninjutsu in a situation. A ninja who is proficient in a ninjutsu can actually further reduce the number of seals. For example, the ordinary version of the water dragon bullet jutsu requires 44 seals. Even if you are a genius with 6 seals per second, it takes more than 7 seconds to perform 44 seals. These more than 7 seconds are enough for the enemy to kill you several times. It can be said that whoever uses this ninjutsu will be the one who kills you. Sabi. Senju Tobirama's water dragon bullet technique only requires 4 seals. This is because Senju Tobirama's research on the water dragon bullet technique has been extremely thorough, so he can reduce the number of seals from 44 reduced to 4. As the owner of a high-level immortal body, Senju Hashirama, coupled with his in-depth study of wood escape, allowed him to further master the ability to perform ninjutsu without forming seals. To put it bluntly, that is the ninja's control of his own chakra and his understanding of ninjutsu have reached an extremely incredible level. And now, Ryosuke Yagami finds that he seems to have touched this threshold. Although he does not need to form seals now, the only thing that can be released is the wood release. But as long as he practices diligently, I believe that when he uses other ninjutsu in the future, he will no longer need complicated seals to use them. Just right? Ryosuke Yagami has always been very fond of his own ninjutsu. I'm not satisfied with the printing speed. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Filu Novel Network. 5 printings per second seems pretty good. But Ryosuke Yagami thinks it's still too slow. In 1 second, that's it was enough for him to rush hundreds of meters away and kill several ninjas on the opposite side. If he had that time, wouldn't he just rush forward with his ninja sword? Why would he use ninjutsu? If it weren't for Ryosuke Yagami's ninja skills. A bonus of 10 times the power. To be honest, he is too lazy to learn the ninjutsu that requires sealing. One Rasengan is enough for him to do a lot of tricks. Recently, Ryosuke Yagami even asked the shadow clone to study it. The new form of the Rasengan. He has some ideas about the new form of the Rasengan in his mind, but they are still in the idea stage. As for whether it can be developed, Ryosuke Yagami is not worried about this. The difference is just how long it will take. It's just developed. For example, the Rasen Rinpoche used by Uzumaki Menma in the Tsukuyomi world. This technique is extremely powerful. The extended form, the Great Spiral Rinpoche. It even destroyed the entire Konoha with one blow. The destructive power it is not inferior to Pain's Super Shinra Tensei. Moreover, the large spiral wheel is small in size, more maneuverable, and more convenient to use. The overall evaluation is even better than that of Super Shinra Tensei. But the Night God Ryosuke doesn't know how this spiral wheel was developed. So he can only let the shadow clones try and make mistakes again and again to see if they can happen by chance. To the correct development direction of this spiral wheel. And the Rasengan form that Ryosuke Yagami finally wants to achieve. It is a Rasengan in the form of a bloody snare infused with 7 chakra attributes. Yagami Ryosuke had even thought of its name in advance. When the time comes, we'll call it 6 Paths Final Rasengan. But it's not easy to research this thing. Therefore, Ryosuke Yagami's task for the shadow clones was to first study the Rasengan that incorporates 2 or more changes in chakra properties. Then increase it step by step. Finally, the changes in the nature of chakra are added to form this final form. Just right, now I have learned the art of Flying Thunder God. This will free up more shadow clones to study the subsequent development of the Rasengan. But now Ryosuke Yagami seems to have another mission. That is to develop Mudon. There are more and more things happening. Fortunately, I have a shadow clone to help. Yakami Ryosuke was extremely grateful to Senju Tobirama for developing the ninjutsu of the multiple shadow clone jutsu. If it hadn't been for it, how could Yagami Ryosuke be so busy by himself? Hokage's office. 1 Ni. The kneeling Tengu was reporting the latest information about Yagami Ryosuke to Sarutobi Hiruzen. When the Tengu finished speaking, Sarutobi Hiruzen also frowned and smoked, saying nothing for a while. Patriarch, is Ryosuke Yagami growing up too fast? Tengu raised his head and glanced at Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was meditating, and after thinking for a while he spoke. This is the Hokage's office, not the clan's territory. How many times have I told you to call me Hokage-sama outside? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at his own clansman indifferently. Speaking of which, Tengu is still Sarutobi Hiruzen's nephew. In addition, his own talent is quite outstanding. Therefore, he also received some additional cultivation from Sarutobi Hiruzen. Feel sorry, Lord Hokage. The Tengu quickly lowered his head, not daring to say any more. You know, without Sarutobi Hiruzen, there would be no Sarutobi clan today. Therefore, it can be said that the entire Sarutobi clan relies on Sarutobi Hiruzen to survive like this. Moisturizing. Liaonyozhao, therefore, within the clan, Sarutobi Hiruzen is not only the clan leader. He is also the dictator of everything. Those so-called clan elders do not dare to speak loudly in front of him. No matter what happens, they have to talk to Sarutobi. Hiruzen Sarutobi asked for instructions. Hiruzen Sarutobi nodded, so they dared to do it. And members of the clan like Tengu, who relied on Hiruzen Sarutobi's respect to enjoy these resources, were even more interested in Hiruzen Sarutobi. Respect and fear. However, although Sarutobi Hiruzen just scolded Tengu a few times, the words Tengu just said really spoke to his heart. Why was he silent just now? It was because Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly discovered Ryosuke Yagami, a civilian genius, grew up a bit too fast. Originally, according to his plan, he would use 5 or 6 years to brainwash Ryosuke Yagami step by step so that he could become an obedient dog. But now, this dog has not had time to be tamed, but it has grown fat and strong, and may not even have any respect for him as its master. This makes Sarutobi Hiruzen a little worried. He is afraid of Yagami Ryosuke will become another Namikaze Minato. Namikaze Minato was also so outstanding back then, and also learned the art of flying Thunder God. Moreover, the situation at that time was quite special. Sarutobi Hiruzen had no other better candidates to support, so he chose Namikaze Minato, who is his disciple, has such a relationship. Originally, Hiruzen Sarutobi thought that after supporting Namikaze Minato to rise to power, he could still control this young man. But later he gradually discovered that Namikaze Minato was in power. Feng Shui Gate is getting more and more out of my control. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 89. What's more, Namikaze Minato openly went against Hiruzen Sarutobi's wishes, went to have in-depth contact with the Uchiha clan, and made Kusina, the nine-tailed Jinchuriki, and the wife of the Uchiha clan's patriarch become good sisters. This was obviously not the result Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to see. He was afraid that Namikaze Minato would escape his control and lose his power. Fortunately, the Nine Tails rebellion happened later. Originally, Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't think much about it, but at that time he suddenly realized that this might be an opportunity. A good opportunity to get rid of Namikaze Minato. So, he was supposed to be the one to seal the Kyuubi, but the last person to take action was Namikaze Minato. Forbidden spells like the corpse seal are all destined to die together. It shouldn't have been done by Minato Namikaze, a young and powerful fourth-generation Hokage. But the situation at that time was that Hiruzen Sarutobi delayed taking action, and instead ran to the rear to take charge of the overall situation. While trying hard to show his presence, he fishes in troubled waters and does nothing. And Namikaze Minato also trusted Sarutobi Hiruzen too much. I didn't think about it at all. Just on impulse, he wanted to die with his wife, so he resolutely used the forbidden technique of corpse sealing. In the end, Sarutobi benefited from Hiruzen and became the Hokage again. At the same time, he also gained the favor of Uzumaki Naruto, the new nine-tailed Jinchuriki. Kill two birds with one stone and get all the benefits. And now the talent and ability shown by Ryosuke Yagami. Let Sarutobi Hiruzen think of Namikaze Minato in the past again. He was thinking about what he would do if he wanted to support his grandson Konohamaru to become the Hokage 10 years later. At that time, would Ryosuke Yagami really support him and Konohamaru willingly? Not necessarily. Okay, you go down first, continue to keep an eye on Ryosuke Yagami, and report his movements to me at any time. Sarutobi Hiruzen was a little upset. The development of things had deviated from his original route. He waved his hand for the Tengu to retreat first, and then he quietly thought about how to deal with Yagami Ryosuke's problem. Just at this moment, the office door was pushed open again. Then Danzo walked in from the door on crutches. Danzo. Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at the other party in surprise. During this period, Danzo had been locking himself in the room, even if he could avoid going out. How could he come here on his own initiative? Sarutobi Hiruzen thought to himself. Hiruzen, I heard that brat Ryosuke Yagami has learned the Flying Thunder God technique? And defeated A? Danzo said, causing Sarutobi Hiruzen to frown. Danzo, A's current code name is Tenzo, he is no longer yours. Sarutobi Hiruzen finally used Kakashi's relationship to deceive Tenzo from the bottom up. Looking at Danzo's current intentions, could it be that he wants to take him back? How is this possible? When it comes to him, Sarutobi, what is in Hiruzen's hand, do you still want to take it back? Dreaming. Tenzo, just Tenzo, Hiruzen, I'm not here to discuss Tenzo's issues with you today. Danzo doesn't care about Tenzo or Kai. It's not that he doesn't want to take back the wooden escape experimental body that he finally got. Danzo knows that it's impossible. The main purpose of his coming today is to laugh at Sarutobi Hiruzen and talk to him. By the way, let's discuss the issue about Yagami Ryusuke's brat again. Hiruzen, that kid has grown up too fast, and he has now learned the Flying Thunder God technique. Don't you think he looks like a human being? Danzo said with a sneer. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face instantly darkened. He finally understood that Danzo was here to see his jokes. This old guy, didn't he just see his jokes a few times some time ago? As for are you coming back in such a hurry? Seeing the change in Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression, Danzo's heart felt sweeter than honey. Hiruzen, you too have today. I asked you to read my joke some time ago, and today I finally, he felt proud. Danzo was excited for a moment. He took a huge risk to go out, so he accidentally stepped on 3 pieces of dog poop on the way, and was punched twice in the face by 2 shrews who were arguing in the street. What a rotten egg. I finally arrived at the Hokage building, and I almost stepped into the trap dug by some bastard. God knows who is so brave, and dared to dig a trap at the entrance of the Hokage building. Also, those responsible for guarding the Hokage building are all the umbu blind? Can't you even see someone digging at the gate? After paying such a heavy price, Danzo paid such a heavy price just to see Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression as if he had eaten shit. Now look, when it arrived, he suddenly felt that all the previous efforts were worth it. Hiruzen, you are too naive to think that you can control that brat. Danzo continued to taunt Sarutobi Hiruzen. What does all this mean now? It means that my previous judgment was correct. For a kid like this, you have to put a curse seal on him. Only then will he be obedient. Danzo, shut up. Sarutobi Hiruzen was a little bit offended. Mainly because he had been worried about this problem before, and now Danzo was laughing at him about it. How could Sarutobi Hiruzen not be angry? Ryusuke is a good boy who knows how to repay his kindness, so what if he learns to fly the Thunder God? That was a gift I gave him. Once he learns it, he will naturally be grateful to me. Sarutobi Hiruzen said harshly. Hiruzen, just continue dreaming here. I can see that that brat is born to be a rebellious person. Will he be grateful to you? Danzo sneered again and again. How about this, Hiruzen, don't you want to cultivate your grandson? Huh? Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes instantly looked sharply at Danzo. Don't look at me like that, I won't even attack your grandson. Danzo snorted coldly. But in fact, if possible, he really wanted to kill that brat Konohamaru. Especially after guessing that Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to train his grandson to become the Hokage. Afterwards, Danzo felt even more displeased with Konohamaru. What I mean is, since you think that brat Yagami Ryusuke will obey your orders, why not let him protect Konohamaru? Duinzo has sinister intentions. No motivated ninja would be willing to be a nanny for a brat. Only a ninja like Ebisu, who has no potential, would be willing to accept such a job. Mission, I am even proud of it, thinking that I will become a minister of Konglong in the future. But who is Ryusuke Yagami? He is a super genius who defeated Tenzo, an elite jonin, at the age of 12, and learned the art of flying Thunder God. Would such a person be willing to be a nanny for a little kid when his strength is on the rise? You know it's impossible. Unless Ryusuke Yagami really obeys Hiruzen Sarutobi's orders. But Danzo said before that Ryusuke Yagami was born with a rebellious nature, but this was actually not just talk. He really felt that Ryusuke Yagami was not a simple brat. He was not the kind of ninja who would unconditionally obey the orders of his superiors. When Danzo heard that Hiruzen, Sarutobi pondered for a moment about Zhang's suggestion, and felt that he might really give it a try. If Ryosuke Yagamai is willing to accept this order, then it means that he really respects himself as the Hokage enough and is willing to obey him. Some unreasonable assignments. But if Ryosuke Yagamai refuses on the spot, then Hiruzen Sarutobi does not have to worry anymore. It is almost certain that Ryosuke Yagamai will not be brainwashed into an obedient dog under him, Akfa. It's impossible to be entrusted with a big responsibility. Don't even think about assisting Konohamaru or anything like that. What Sarutobi Hiruzen should worry about next is how to really grow up under Ryosuke Yagamai to the point that he can't handle. Before his strength, he was eradicated. An elite jounin, Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to kill him. There are a million ways. But, if it is an elite jounin who has learned the art of flying thunder god, then change it's quite troublesome. If one mistake is made, if Ryosuke Yagamai escapes, he will become a rebellious ninja in the village. This is also a very embarrassing thing. Therefore, Sarutobi Hiruzen felt that he needed to plan carefully. Of course, things haven't reached that point yet. What if Ryosuke Yagamai is actually obedient? He is just a 12-year-old child who has never seen much of the world. As the Hokage himself, plus he goes to ninja from time to time. The school brainwashes these students. What if Ryosuke Yagamai is like Naruto and respects him from the bottom of his heart? Hiruzen, please think about it carefully. I'm going back first. Danzo's goal has been achieved. Not only did he laugh at Hiruzen Sarutobi's way of looking at people, but he also successfully instigated the relationship between Hiruzen Sarutobi and Ryosuke Yagamai. Regardless of what will happen to Hiruzen Sarutobi in the future. No matter what he said today will always be a thorn in Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart, making it impossible for him to continue to reuse Yagamai Ryosuke in the future. As expected, I am still one step ahead. Danzo thought proudly. To read cool novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Shortly after Danzo left. The more he thought about it, the more Sarutobi Hiruzen felt that he could not sit still and wait for death, so he directly called an Umbu and ordered him go and call Yagamai Ryosuke over. That's right. Sarutobi Hiruzen plans to try the method Danzo mentioned before. See if Yagamai Ryosuke is loyal to him. Umbu, Team 7 training ground up. Ryosuke Yagamai had just come back from outside and was thinking about some techniques for using wood release. Suddenly, an Umbu ninja he had never seen before suddenly appeared in front of him. Yayu, Lord Hokage invites you. The Umbu said in an indifferent voice. Tengu, who had also just returned, glanced here with twinkling eyes. But others secretly looked at Ryosuke Yagamai with envy. They naively thought it was Ryosuke Yagamai who was showing off. His strength attracted the attention of Lord Hokage, so he planned to promote him. After all, a ninja who has mastered the Flying Thunder God technique and is as powerful as an elite Jonin has been condescending to be an ordinary member of the Umbu. This is a kind of behavior no matter how you look at it. What a waste. Not to mention giving the position of squad leader. But at least it should be given to the position of squad leader, right? If Yayu leaves now, we're afraid we'll have to call him captain if he comes back. Heiya said with a smile. The shadows on the side also nodded, feeling a little envious in their hearts. However, what was different from their thoughts was that Uzuki Zien looked at Ryosuke Yagamai who left with the Umbu, but she felt something bad in her heart. A premonition. Because she knew before that Ryosuke Yagamai had been plotted by Danzo and sent ninjas from the route to assassinate him. Even the previous captain of their second team, Hinata Chutsu, was the one arranged by Danzo. This is enough to show that Ryosuke Yagamai has enemies among the top leaders of Konoha. Uzuki Zien is not sure whether the third Hokage knows about this matter. If he knows, it will be really scary to think about it. This time, the third Hokage suddenly summoned Ryusuke Yagamai. Uzuki Zen didn't know whether it was a blessing or a curse. Ryusuke, don't let anything happen. Uzuki Zen prayed silently in her heart. Hokage's office. Yagamai Ryusuke was brought here. Lord Hokage, bring Umbu Ninja Yazuki. The Umbu who was leading the way knelt on one knee and said, "Well, you go down." Sarutobi Hiruzen calmly waved his hand for the Umbu to get down, then put on a smile and looked at Yagamai Ryusuke who was standing in front of him. "Ryusuke, I heard that you have learned the Flying Thunder God technique." Ryusuke Yagamai nodded. "Yes, third generation." He said, "I have just mastered it recently, and I am not yet proficient in it. Being able to learn it is already the most important step, and the next step is nothing more than a familiar process." Sarutobi Hiruzen said with a smile, "Ryusuke, I am indeed right about you. It is an honor for the village to have a genius like you." He praised Yagamai Ryusuke, looking very appreciative and pleased. "The third generation has given me the prize, I'm just a little luckier." "Ryusuke," Yagamai said modestly. "No, Ryusuke. You are not just lucky, your talent is undoubted. Do you know who I see in you?" Ryusuke Yagamai shook his head. "It's the fourth Hokage. Like the fourth generation, you are both talented civilian ninjas, and it is precisely because of the existence of ninja village like you that the village can become more and more prosperous." Sarutobi Hiruzen said, taking a puff of cigarette. Yagamai Ryusuke looked at him, but he was sneering in his heart. His sense of good and evil, the moment he stepped into the Hokage's office, he sensed that in Sarutobi Hiruzen. Share of malice. Did I show off the Flying Thunder God technique and make this old guy afraid? Ryusuke Yagamai understood it after thinking about it for a while. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 90. In Konoha, ordinary geniuses will be reused. If you are from the ninja clan or are close to the Hokage clan, you can get even more preferential treatment. But if you show too much genius, you will be feared by the top management of Konoha. To the point of causing death. It doesn't matter what your origin is, unless you are the son or grandson of Hiruzen Sarutobi, having this blood relationship can ensure your personal safety. Otherwise, try to hide your strength and bide your time as much as possible. Hide your edge. To live longer. Ryusuke Yagamai knows the darkness of this village, but he is no longer the weakling who needed to hide his edge. Now, those who should be afraid and nervous should be these people at the top of Konoha. Not him, Ryusuke Yagamai. It sounds ridiculous. The scroll of the Flying Thunder God technique was given to Ryusuke Yagamai by Hiruzen Sarutobi. It was his gift to Ryusuke Yagamai to join Umbu. But it turned out that when Ryusuke Yagamai really learned the art of Flying Thunder God, the most nervous person was actually Hiruzen Sarutobi. "When you gave me the Flying Thunder God technique, you never thought I could learn it, right?" If Sarutobi Hiruzen had known that Ryusuke Yagamai sometimes had a talent for space, he would have directly blocked the Flying Thunder God technique in the Book of Seals at that time, just like he blocked the forbidden techniques of the reincarnation of the earth. Certainly. If Yagamai Ryusuke behaves obediently enough and is easy to control. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't mind if he could learn the Flying Thunder God technique. But the key point is, Ryusuke Yagamai's behavior all along has been, at best, polite to him as the Hokage. Stay respectful from a distance, and even listen to what you say. Still too far away. This is what makes Sarutobi Hiruzen really worried. Ryusuke, with your current ability, it is a bit too humiliating to continue to stay in Umbu and be an ordinary Umbu ninja. Sarutobi Hiruzen finally got down to business after praising Yagamai Ryusuke. Here he comes. Yagamai Ryusuke looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen in front of him and finally knew the purpose of calling him here transfer. But, where can Sarutobi Hiruzen transfer him? You can't just grant him a jounin position and then let him be the leading jounin, right? Even if you think about it, that's impossible. Moreover, considering Sarutobi Hiruzen's current fear of him, he should be planning to arrange a very busy position for him, leaving him no time to practice and further improve his strength, thus achieving the effect of limiting his growth. This was not Ryosuke Yagamai maliciously speculating on Sarutobi Hiruzen's thoughts, but his sense of good and evil clearly told him that the Sarutobi Hiruzen in front of him was really full of malice towards him. And this malice is still increasing. Are you going to give me a promotion, third generation Sama? Ryosuke Yagamai asked. Hiruzen Sarutobi nodded with a smile and said, yes, Ryosuke, you already have the strength of an elite jonin, but there are currently no vacancies in the Umbu. In this way, I can grant you the special rank of jonin and then let you teach a student. How about it? Teaching students? No. Do you really want me to be the leading jonin? Although I am only a special jonin, I can still be considered a jonin. But, a student? What do you mean, third generation Sama? Ryosuke Yagamai asked. Hiruzen Sarutobi smiled and handed him a document that he had prepared a long time ago. Ryosuke Yagamai reached out and took it, looking down at the content. Sarutobi Konohamaru male, 8 years old. Look at the information content above. Ryosuke Yagamai suddenly realized. The relationship is to let him replace Ebisu's job and be a nanny for the brat Konohamaru. Ryosuke Yagamai sneered inwardly. Sarutobi Hiruzen's plan was really good. If you work as a nanny for a naughty kid, you won't have time to practice. Moreover, this kid is still the grandson of the Hokage, so he can't just do it casually. Otherwise, Hiruzen Sarutobi would have plenty of excuses to punish him. Third generation sir, is this your grandson? Ryosuke Yagamai raised his head and said. Hiruzen Sarutobi nodded, but he was already more and more dissatisfied with Ryosuke Yagamai's attitude. He didn't give a direct answer, but asked him if Konohamaru was his grandson. This what does it mean? Danzo's previous words were heard. At this moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen had always thought that his talents were far above Danzo, but now he had to admit that he was looking at this matter about Ryosuke Yagamai. His vision is not as accurate as Danzo's. In other words, Danzo's style has always been like this. No matter whether the person is loyal to the village or to the higher UPS, he will speculate on the other person with the greatest malice. Then he will put a lot of trouble on the other person. Curse seal, control it. But Sarutobi Hiruzen is different. He likes to brainwash. Use words to guide the other party and make the other party completely devoted to him. Why does Sarutobi Hiruzen look down on Danzo? It's because he thinks Danzo his style of doing things is too unskilled. Unlike himself, he can make people believe in him from the bottom of his heart. And what about Danzo? He just uses fear and curse seals to intimidate and induce. How can this be with him? Compared. The gap between the two is as far as 180,000 miles. But now, Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly felt. Danzo's method is not completely useless. Some people are really not easy to be brainwashed. Feel sorry. Lord Third, please forgive me for not being able to accept this mission. Ryosuke Yagamai shook his head and put the information in his hand back on the table. Oh. Can I know why? Sarutobi Hiruzen remained calm on the surface, but inside he was already burning with anger. And Yagamai Ryosuke also clearly sensed that Sarutobi Hiruzen's malice toward him increased more than tenfold in an instant. I am only 12 years old, just a few years older than Konohamaru. I don't think I have the ability to teach Konohamaru. Yagamai Ryosuke said, Konohamaru is your grandson, the third generation. I don't want to teach him to be a loser because of my fault, so I refuse to accept this task. So, Ryosuke, you are still too modest. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed and said, well, since you said so, let's forget about it. He moved the information aside, then said a few perfunctory words, and asked Ryusuke Yagami to go down. After Ryusuke Yagami left the Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen's face instantly darkened. Really? Ryusuke Yagami has no respect for me at all. He rejected the task assigned to him so directly. A person like this will probably not obey my other orders in the future. Sarutobi Hiruzen has completely given up on the idea of controlling Yagami Ryusuke at this moment. Now, what he should consider is how to get rid of this serious trouble. Otherwise, the existence of Yagami Ryusuke is very likely to have a great impact on his 10. The annual plan has had a serious impact. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Moreover, the relationship between Yagami Ryusuke and Naruto is still very good. Before, Sarutobi Hiruzen was happy because he only wanted to draw Ryusuke Yagami into his camp. Naturally, he didn't mind Ryusuke Yagami coming into contact with Naruto. But now, since it was determined that Ryusuke Yagami was an uncontrollable factor, Hiruzen Sarutobi, we must prevent him from continuing to maintain his current relationship with Naruto. Naruto is the ultimate weapon of the village. He, Hiruzen Sarutobi, will never allow a disobedient ninja like Ryusuke Yagami to contact Naruto. He may even gain Naruto's favor. But, how can we deal with Ryusuke Yagami? Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly regretted why he gave him the Flying Thunder God technique in the first place. If he had not given him the Flying Thunder God technique, he wouldn't have to worry so much now. Coming out of the Hokage building, Yagami Ryo along the way, Suke was thinking about the arrangement just made by Hiruzen Sarutobi. After thinking for a while, he suddenly realized that Hiruzen Sarutobi might not have wanted to suppress him from the beginning. He might just be testing whether he is enough. Be obedient. If Ryusuke Yagami had just accepted the nanny task assigned by Hiruzen Sarutobi, he might have gained Hiruzen Sarutobi's trust again. What a pity. Ryusuke Yagami doesn't want to be a nanny for a little brat, and he doesn't need Sarutobi Hiruzen's trust. In 1 or 2 months, it will be the day of the Chuunin examination. By then, Orochimaru's Konoha collapse plan will also begin. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage, doesn't have long to live. What's the use of the trust of a dying person? However, rejecting Hiruzen Sarutobi this time is equivalent to standing on the opposite side of the Hokage family. I don't know what Hiruzen Sarutobi will do with me next. Ryusuke Yagami was thinking about some things that Hiruzen Sarutobi might do. First of all, the special Jonin position mentioned earlier is obviously not something to think about. Hiruzen Sarutobi didn't mention it just now. He knew that there was no chance. Secondly, suppression is certain. But the current strength shown by Ryusuke Yagami and the Flying Thunder God technique he has mastered will definitely make Hiruzen Sarutobi feel like he is throwing a rat into a trap. Even if he wants to suppress Ryusuke Yagami, it is impossible to directly send someone to assassinate him like Danzo did. Because Sarutobi Hiruzen knows that doing so is meaningless for a ninja who has mastered the Flying Thunder God technique. Unless he sends a shadow-level strength strong, able to kill Ryusuke Yagami before he can use Flying Thunder God to escape. But where else could Sarutobi Hiruzen have any subordinates with cage-level strength that he could send out? All the cage-level experts in Konoha have been wiped out by this group of people. Now looking at the huge Konoha village, apart from Sarutobi Hiruzen himself, are there any cage-level ninjas? Seemingly, Sarutobi Hiruzen is a bit unavailable. Ryusuke Yagami suddenly laughed. This is probably what he deserves, right? He obviously had a lot of good cards, but he chose to play them to pieces, and even tore up the good cards himself. No one can use them now, who can blame him? Who? It's not the fault of the Konoha senior officials themselves. In the short term, Hiruzen Sarutobi shouldn't cause any trouble for me. But that guy Danzo is hard to say. Hiruzen Sarutobi stopped him before, but now Hiruzen Sarutobi will definitely not stop him anymore, and will even be willing to let Danzo try a few more times. But as for the trash under Danzo, no matter how many of them they come, they just end up giving away their lives. Nothing to worry about. Yayu, come back. Ryosuke Yagami returned to the Umbu headquarters. As soon as Hyga and the others saw him coming back, they ran over with smiles. Hokage-sama called you over, did he want to give you a promotion? Heiya asked gossiping. Promotion? No, and our Umbu doesn't have any vacancies for the time being, right? Ryosuke Yagami shook his head. When they heard that Ryosuke Yagami was not promoted, both Black Teeth and Shadow were a little surprised. On the other hand, the Tengu's eyes flashed, and he already knew the reason in his heart. But our 7th class. Blacktooth was about to say that the captain of their 7th team was the acting captain, and Ryosuke Yagami could completely replace him. As a result, the shadow on the side secretly pulled him. It turned out that Mao Yuzian came over at this time. Blacktooth sneered a few times, called captain, and was pulled away by Shadow and the others. Shameful guy, don't you know the captain is still around? Shadow looked at Heiya speechlessly. He usually looked very smart, but why did he act clumsy at the critical moment? Mao Yuzian didn't pay attention to Heiya's little thoughts. She pulled Yagami Ryosuke to the side and asked in a low voice, Ryosuke, what happened? Yagami Ryosuke looked at her, and after thinking about it, he also recalled the previous arrangement of Sarutobi Hiruzen for him. I talked to Yuzian. Hearing that the 3rd Hokage actually asked Ryosuke Yagami to be a nanny for a little kid, Uzuki-Zien also frowned, very dissatisfied with this arrangement. Ryosuke, you are right to refuse to accept this task. You are now at the stage where your strength is improving the fastest and you should focus on training instead of other things. Uzuki Yugan is sincerely thinking about Ryosuke Yagami, and even bluntly expressed her dissatisfaction with the unreasonable arrangement of the 3rd Hokage. You know, Uzuki Yugan had previously respected Sarutobi Hiruzen, the 3rd Hokage. But it seems that she has been in contact with Ryosuke Yagami for a long time. The respect she has for Sarutobi Hiruzen in her heart has become less and less. She even begins to doubt whether there are problems with some of the decisions made by Konoha's top brass.